Chapter 11-12. Ugh! Kyuchi Origami could only struggle to break free from the grasp of this hand. However, the more she struggled, the more pain she felt. In the end, her usually calm face was flushed red from the suffocation. The feeling of suffocation assaulted Tabichi Origami's mind. Her mind started to blur. Even so, she continued to glare at Kotori's face with resentment. If she could get a little closer, she wouldn't mind biting Kotori's face and tearing off a piece of flesh. Kotori's frown deepened when she saw Tabichi Origami's behavior. Tabichi Origami's behavior is a bit abnormal. Kotori knew Tabichi Origami very well. She was in the same class as her brother and sister, and she was familiar with her. To put it simply, Tokichi Origami is an unapproachable person. She doesn't interact much with others and secretly hates the elves. She joined AST for the sake of world peace and to prevent the elves from destroying the world and harming others. Rather than saying that she joined AST for the sake of world peace and to stop the elves from destroying the world and harming others, it's more accurate to say that she hates the elves. That's why Tabichi Origami joined AST. But this hatred is a bit too much. Kotori recalled the information she received about Tabichi Origami. She stared at Tabichi Origami's resentful eyes, and for some reason, she felt annoyed. Her grip tightened, causing Tabichi Origami to moan in pain. Watching all of this happen with their own eyes, Toka and Yoshino were completely unable to react. For a moment they were stunned on the spot. Only Wu Yen looked at Tabichi Origami quietly and sighed. When he saw Tabichi Origami charging at Kotori with a face full of hatred, Wu Yen already knew what was going to happen next. Wu Yen can only blame himself for forgetting that Tabichi Origami is a member of AST. He forgot that Tabichi Origami has hatred in her heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Kotori turn into an elf even if her identity is exposed. Even if she sees her normal state, it's just a bit more troublesome. With Kotori's abilities and the seal on her spirit energy, she won't be able to detect any psychic wave. Even if she looks exactly the same, she won't be treated like an elf. But now, in order to save some trouble, he got himself into big trouble. Wu Yen felt like the loss outweighed the gain. Wu Yen glanced at the AST members who were pinned down by Kurumi. He looked at Kotori. Kotori, let her go. Kotori was stunned. He hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Then, he tossed the origami kitsune out of his hand. Cough cough. Tabichi Origami stabilized herself. The propellers behind her increased in power, allowing her to float in the air. She covered her neck and coughed a few times. Her eyes never left Kotori. The hatred is still there. Cough. I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. Efreet. Tabichi Origami coughed and said something that made Kotori very uncomfortable. The flames on her body started jumping violently. Kotori can tell from Tabichi Origami's words that Tabichi Origami hates herself, but why? Is it because she's an elf? But Tabichi Origami has encountered elves dozens of times, if not hundreds of times. Kotori did know that Tabichi Origami would act recklessly in front of elves, but she never heard of it. Why would Tabichi Origami act like this when facing an elf? There must be a reason behind it. Realizing this, Kotori's doubtful gaze toward Toichi Origami gradually disappeared and was replaced with a cold look. You know me? Kotori Origami shook her head. Kotori paused for a moment and shook her head. No, I should say that you know Efreet? You know me? You know me? Tabichi Origami was so angry that she started laughing. Her face scrunched up due to the anger and hatred in her heart. Yes, I know you. Of course I know you. At this moment, Toichi Origami had completely lost her previous expressionless and emotionless image as a puppet. She shouted out in a low voice, which was out of character. How can I not know you? You killed my parents. His words caused Kotori's calm demeanor to completely change. Her eyes were filled with unprecedented emotions. What did you say? Koteri's voice was trembling, but she suppressed the sudden fear in her heart and asked in a hoarse voice. You said I killed your parents? That's right. It's you. The elves of fire Efreet. 5 years ago, it caused a big fire in Heavenly Palace City when it was in the modern world. You killed my parents. Tabichi Origami's face was pale due to her loud roar, but her voice was filled with hatred as it entered Koteri's ears. Kotori stared blankly at Toichi Origami, who was yelling at her. Her face turned pale as well, without a trace of blood. 5 years ago? Huge fire? Wasn't that when I was transformed into an elf and obtained the power of an elf? Did I really kill Tabichi Origami's parents at that time? Thinking of this, Koteri's heart sped up due to fear, and her eyes were filled with fear. After all, before she met Wu Yen, if she overused her powers, her spirit power would go berserk, and she would lose her consciousness. She would turn into a monster that only knows how to destroy things. 5 years ago, perhaps when he went berserk, he unknowingly killed some people. That's hard to say. Such a thought flashed through Koteri's mind, causing her body to tremble. At this moment. Because she's a fire spirit, she's the murderer of your parents? A voice that was terrifyingly calm compared to Kotori and Tokichi's voice suddenly rang out. At the same time, a terrifying flame that incinerated the atmosphere and caused the surrounding temperature to rise by several levels abruptly appeared. Then I'm sorry, I'm probably involved in killing your parents. Tabichi Origami turned around and looked at the source of the voice. She was stunned by what she saw. Red flames shot up into the sky like serpents. Wu Yen was bathed in flames. His wine-red eyes looked at Tabichi Origami with pity and sympathy. Tabichi Origami was stunned. 2. Fire Elves. Wu Yan's pity and sympathy deepened when he saw Tabichi Origami's stunned expression. Tabichi Origami understood his gaze and took a few steps back. Her expression turned vicious. If that's the case, then I'll kill both of us. Wu Yen narrowed his eyes and smiled. Do you think you can do it? I have to do it even if I can't. Tabichi Origami yelled and raised her cannon again. This time, she aimed at Wu Yen. I'll kill you. What a joke. As this emotionless voice drifted into Kite 1 Origami's ears, Kite 1 Origami was startled. Before she could react, a figure had already appeared in front of her. The figure extended his hand and pressed down on the heavy cannon in her hand. His wine-red eyes immediately met Kite 1 Origami's gaze. If you can kill elves with aggro, then there's no need for an AST. Wu Yen grabbed the cannon with all his might and he flung it out. Tabichi Origami, who was holding the cannon, was sent flying. When Tabichi Origami steadied herself and looked down, Wu Yen and Kotori were nowhere to be seen. Even Toka and Yoshino were nowhere to be seen. Even Kurumi, who stopped the AST, was nowhere to be seen. At the scene, only a faint sentence was left, echoing in the air. Believe it or not, the elf who killed your parents isn't Kotori, it's someone else. Tabichi Origami's expression changed. She scanned every nook and cranny of the place, but she couldn't find Wu Yen and company. Looking at the members of Sunrise Prairie Fire and ST flying towards her, Origami Kitsune gritted her teeth and clenched her fists tightly. Itsuka. Shoujo. Chapter 11-13. Heavenly Palace City. It's been about an hour since the space-time quake happened. At this time, the space quake alarm had been lifted, and the residents who had been protected had also come out of the shelters one after another. The damaged streets had also been repaired at a godlike speed by the display device used for repair. The entire Heavenly Palace City had been restored to the appearance before the spacequake. The residents of Heavenly Palace City had long been accustomed to the spacequake. Therefore, as soon as they came out of the shelter, the residents acted as if nothing had happened and they had not encountered anything. They once again returned to their noisy state, making the entire Heavenly Palace City full of vitality. If one only looked at the surface, No one would have thought that just an hour ago, in this corner of the city, which looked like hell, there was also a medium-sized riot. Of course, the people walking on the street didn't know that one of them was the culprit who caused the space-time quake. He was walking with them in broad daylight, heading back to his own home. Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Yono reverted to their casual attire. Their spiritual power was sealed away by the sealing bracelet. They are now just ordinary people. They are on their way back to the Itsuka clan with Wu Yen. Along the way, Toka and Yoshino were overjoyed. They skipped around like they wanted to go home as soon as possible. If Wu Yen, Kotori, and Kurumi weren't walking at a leisurely pace, the two girls would have started running. Obviously, Wu He's family had a very special position in the hearts of Shi Xiang and Shi Shao Nai as their first shelter after getting rid of the identity of being hunted. Furthermore, Shirji had always taken good care of the two of them, causing them to somewhat miss her. As for Kurumi, she has been walking elegantly with a smile on her face. Her eyes narrowed as she smiled. She didn't say anything, she just kept walking. However, if you look closely, you'll notice that Kurumi would sometimes glance behind her. Then, she would quicken her pace a little to put some distance between herself and the two behind her. She even stood behind Toka and Yoshino to prevent them from noticing what's going on behind them. Wu Yen gratefully smiled at Kurumi. Then, he looked to his side. Kotori is there with her head lowered. Her entire face is covered by her bangs so no one can see her expression. However, one can vaguely see Kotori's petite body trembling. Wu Yen stared at Kotori for a while before turning around. He looked ahead and spoke to Kotori with a voice that only she can hear. Are you still concerned about what Toka Origami said? Kotori's delicate body, which was originally trembling slightly, suddenly trembled. She lowered her head even more. After a long while, she finally opened her mouth. Did I really kill Toka Origami's parents? So, you really do care? Wu Yen sighed. It's not like you haven't killed anyone in the Spalier world. That one is different from this one. Kotori raised her voice involuntarily, sounding a little shrill. Killing them was a decision I made based on my own will. Toka Origami's parents were powerless mortals who didn't do anything wrong. More importantly, I didn't kill them on my own volition. It's different. So you think it's your own fault? Wu Yen frowned. Am I wrong? Kotori raised her head. She met Wu Yan's gaze with a wavering gaze. Are you trying to say? Is it wrong to kill powerless mortals who didn't do anything wrong? I don't know if it's wrong or not. Wu Yen waved his hand and looked into Kotori's eyes. But I think you didn't do anything wrong. Even if it's a sin, you don't have to bear it. You didn't do anything wrong. Kotori clenched her fist, her eyes dimmed. You really didn't do anything wrong? Even I don't know about it, but Toka Origami saw it with her own eyes. Saw it with her own eyes. Wu Yen glanced at Kotori. Are you sure she saw you kill her parents with her own eyes? Kotori's footsteps paused, and her brows furrowed. What do you mean? Even though you were still a child 5 years ago, it shouldn't be hard to match her in terms of appearance, right? Wu Yen shook his head. Since Tokichi Origami has feelings for Shirji, it's impossible that she doesn't know you. Then, why didn't she show anything to you before? Why did she only treat you as an enemy when you turned into an elf? Kotori was at a loss. If I remember correctly, Toka Origami revealed something like this. Wu Yen analyzed calmly. Koichi Origami's parents were killed by a certain elf 5 years ago when you turned into an elf for the first time and your spiritual energy went berserk, causing a huge fire, right? What are you trying to say? Kotori frowned. She sensed something from Wu Yan's words. She looked at Wu Yen with hope. Don't you know something about it? If you do, please tell me, Oniai-chan. Wu Yen couldn't help but bitterly laugh. Ever since Kotori became his summoned figure, she had been calling him Big Brother in her commander mode. But in terms of personality, she was still as cold and vicious as ever. She never showed mercy in her actions or words. This was definitely the first time Kotori, who was in commander mode, had ever used such a pleading tone in her life, wasn't it? Looks like she really cares about hurting innocent people when she goes berserk. Well, no matter how cold she is, Kotori is still Kotori. Her nature is still kind. I don't think I can explain it in words. Wu Yan mused. Didn't you lose your memories when you turned into a fairy 5 years ago? How about this? I'll help you retrieve your memories and you'll know what happened. Retrieve my memories? Kotori was shocked. Her expression turned serious. Can you do that? Piece of cake. Wu Yan smirked. Not to mention retrieving your memories, I can even create a new one for you. You're dead if you do that. Kotori glared coldly at Wu Yan. Listen up, if you dare to fabricate a new memory for me, don't expect me to forgive you. What if I help you retrieve your memories and prove you're innocent? Wu Yan's tone turned playful. How do you want to repay me? My adorable little sister. Repay. Kotori's eyes darted around. She didn't dare to look at Wu Yan's playful face. Her cheeks turned red as she spoke shyly. If that's the case, you can do whatever you want. Wu Yan looked at Kotori in disbelief. He couldn't believe that those words came out of Kotori's mouth. But soon, Wu Yan smiled. It was a joyful smile. Remember what you said, Kotori-chan, you can't go back on your words. You're so annoying. Kotori glared at Wu Yan. I've always kept my word. If you dare to fabricate a new memory, I'll... Yes. Wu Yan shrugged. Don't worry, I won't do anything stupid. That better be the case. Kotori snorted coldly and quickened her pace. Her cheeks were still flushed red. Obviously, saying, you can do whatever you want, is a challenge for Kotori who is in her commander mode. Wu Yan retracted his smile when he saw Kotori's reaction. He released a sigh of relief. At least Kotori has returned to her normal self. He achieved his goal. But I didn't expect Kotori to say, do whatever you want, when she's in her commander mode. It's clear that she really cares if she kills some innocent people when she goes berserk. It's a good thing Kotori didn't kill Toichi Origami's parent. Otherwise, Wu Yan can't imagine what would happen to Kotori. Shoujo. Hurry up. I'm leaving you behind. I'm coming. Wu Yan reined in his thoughts and quickened his pace when he heard Toka's excited shouts. Chapter 11-14. When Wu Yan and company arrived at Itsuka's house and entered the house, they were greeted by Shiori, who ran out looking like she just saw a ghost. Everyone jumped in fright when they saw her. After a period of chaos, Shiori finally calmed down and explained the situation to Wu Yan and Ko in a trembling voice. After Shiori finished her explanation, Wu Yan's group found out that the reason why Shiori acted like she saw a ghost was because of them. This is a dungeon world, the time ratio is 100, 1 compared to the Spalier world. If Wu Yan leaves the dungeon world, the time will stop flowing. So, Shiori didn't know that Wu Yan's group left this world for quite some time. The problem is, when they left this world, Toka and Yoshino were with Shiori. So, the time in the date battle world stopped at the time when Shiori, Toka, and Yoshino were still chatting. In the Spalier world, Wu Yan summoned 4 elf girls. Toka and Yoshino left Shiori's side. When they returned to this world with Wu Yan, time resumed. The result was... both Shirji and Shirji suddenly disappeared right in front of Shirji's eyes. Poor Shiori, who was still immersed in chatting with Toka and Yoshino, the next second, 2 living people disappeared in front of her. How could she not be afraid? Shiori didn't dare to stay here alone. She ran off to look for Wu Yan, Kotori, and Kurumi. Shiori found something amiss when she looked for them. The 3 of them had also disappeared. Such a strange phenomenon scared Shiori so much that she almost fainted. She wanted to escape from Itsuka's house. She was afraid that even the people on the street outside would disappear. If she was the only one left in the world, she would collapse. So, Shiori could only tremble. She held onto the fear in her heart. She ran back to her room. She hid under her quilt and didn't dare to come out until she heard Wu Yan's group shouting, "I'm back." She ran out with tears streaming down her face. Wu Yan and Ko blushed with shame when they found out what happened. They can only console Shiori, who is in a state of panic. They can't explain what is going on with this supernatural phenomenon. Left with no other choice, Wu Yan used a skill to erase Shiori's memory to calm her down. When everything calmed down, Shiori led Toka and Yoshino to prepare dinner. Wu Yan was brought into the room by Kotori, who couldn't wait any longer. Kurumi came along with them as well. Of course, the three of them didn't want to do anything that would make them feel better. They just wanted to help Kotori retrieve the memories that she lost when she turned into an elf 5 years ago. Itsuka, Kotori's room. Wisps of burning mana flames jumped on his fingers, as if they were cheerful fairies dancing in the air. Wu Yan grabbed the strand of magical flame and flicked it. The magical flame shot out like a bullet and hit the ground. Then, a platinum-colored magical formation appeared with the magical flame as the center. Wu Yan nodded and looked at Kotori. "Stand in the magical formation. Stand in this magic circle. It can help you reconstruct the memory before and after your elven transformation 5 years ago." Kotori's face tensed up. She was expressionless, but there was an indescribable seriousness in her voice. She nodded and walked into the magical formation. She stood in the center. Bzzz. The platinum-colored magical formation flashed with a barrier of light. With the boundary of the magical formation as the boundary, it enveloped Kotori. Then, the ripples of mana started to expand and Kotori slowly closed her eyes. At the same time, Wu Yan and Kurumi closed their eyes. This magical formation has an additional effect. It allows others to share the memories of the person in the magical formation. To avoid losing her memories again, Kotori agreed to share her memories with Wu Yan and Kurumi. Therefore, in the room, the three of them closed their eyes and immersed themselves in their own minds. A blurry image slowly appeared in the minds of the three of them. In the image, a young Kotori is standing there. However, she wasn't alone. There's a shadow in front of Kotori. It was a shadow whose entire body was covered by something that looked like a mosaic. The shadow extended a hand that's also covered in mosaics towards Kotori. In the palm of his hand, there was a small red gemstone that was faintly emitting a fiery red light. It was lying there. The shadow seemed to say something to Kotori. Kotori slowly reached out her hand and touched the red gem. The moment Xiao Qinli touched the red gem, it turned into a ray of light and merged into Xiao Qinli's palm. Then, Kotori's body began to burn with scorching flames. Her clothes started burning from the bottom and turned into ashes. It turned into a strange, feather-like pinkish-white kimono. She was wearing a feather kimono that was so beautiful it seemed like a fantasy. She was bathed in boiling flames. In the video, Kotori's face was twisted in pain. Not only that, but around Kotori, bright red flames began to burn. Kotori seemed to have reached the limit of her endurance, and she began to cry out. As if it had received some kind of command, the flames suddenly expanded and spread wildly in all directions. The park, the houses, the shops, the buildings and even the streets were all covered by the merciless flames. Xiao Qin, on the other hand, seemed to have been tied to a pillar. Her hands were spread wide open as she screamed in pain. She looked like a saintess who was being burned alive. As she screamed, the flames around her shot out in all directions like a flamethrower. By the time Xiao Qin finally stopped screaming and calmed down, everything around her had already been engulfed in a sea of fire and was slowly burning away. Everything within his field of vision was burned to ashes. Moreover, the fire was still gradually expanding its scope. Seeing all this, Kotori's face once again showed a pained expression. She collapsed to the ground, covered her face, and cried bitterly. Large drops of tears flowed from her eyes, dripping onto the ground, and were directly evaporated by the scorching flames. The shadow stood there and watched. Until a certain moment it suddenly raised its head and looked at the sky. Then, it immediately disappeared. Almost at the same time, a figure descended from the sky and landed in front of Kotori. Kotori threw herself into the person's arms, as if she was grasping at a life-saving straw. Not long after, the two talked about something and the person gave Kotori a red bracelet before disappearing. That person was Wu Yen, who accidentally returned to Heavenly Palace City 5 years ago. When Kotori put on the bracelet and sealed all her spirit energy, Wu Yen disappeared. The shadow appeared in front of Kotori again. The shadow kept looking up at the sky and didn't say anything for a long time. When her spiritual energy was sealed and her spiritual equipment turned into flames, Kotori covered her body and took a few steps back in fear. The shadow seemed to have realized something and looked at Kotori. Then, the shadow reached out its hand. This time, there was no gem in its hand. Its palm was no longer in front of Kotori. Instead, it pressed down on Kotori's head. A faint light flashed from the shadow's hand. Kotori, who was struggling, stiffened. Her eyes closed and she fell to the ground. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The shadow disappeared once more. The fire that spread throughout Heavenly Palace City seemed to have lost its power. As Kotori fell, it gradually dimmed. Many buildings and streets that were burned to ashes were exposed to the air. Everything disappeared. The image of Heavenly Palace City, which was almost burned to ashes, emitting light smoke, became the last scene in this memory fragment. Chapter 11:15. The magical ripples in the small room slowly receded. The platinum-colored magic formation in the center of the room slowly retracted and disappeared into thin air. Wu Yen, Kotori, and Kurumi opened their eyes. They were shocked as if they were awakened from a nightmare. Their breathing quickened. That was. Kotori covered her forehead subconsciously. She was still immersed in the memories she just retrieved. Her red eyes were trembling violently. Even her pupils were dilated. I remember now the reason why I turned into an elf. Compared to the dazed Kotori, Wu Yan's expression was full of frustration. So that shadow was there the whole time. Why didn't I notice it? Despite saying that, Wu Yan couldn't do anything about it. What could he do? When he returned to Heavenly Palace City 5 years ago and saw Kotori, it was just an accident. It was not something he could control at all. There was only a short period of time. He was not free when he came, and he was not free when he left. Even if he found this shadow, he probably couldn't do anything. However, Wu Yan wasn't happy that this shadow, that caused Kotori to turn into an elf, had watched him disappear from Heavenly Palace City 5 years ago. That shadow. Kurong-san frowned slightly and then relaxed her brows. She relaxed and muttered. So that's what caused Kotori to turn into an elf. Wu Yan and Kotori flinched when they heard Kurumi's words. Kotori quickly asked after she recovered from her daze. Kurumi, do you know it? Kurumi nodded but quickly shook her head. I don't know it. I only met it a few times before House-sama came with me. This. Kotori took a deep breath and suppressed the agitation in her heart, calming herself down. Then do you know who it is? Kurumi shook her head. I said I met it a few times but I only talked to it a few times. I only know it was covered by a blurry shadow every time it appeared. It has never revealed its true form. As for what purpose it has and what it usually does, I have no idea either. Kurumi nodded. Kotori fell silent. Wu Yan glanced at Kotori. Then he looked at Kurumi. Kurumi, how do you know it? In the beginning, it came to me by itself. Kurumi narrowed her wine-red eyes and tried to recall what had happened. She slowly opened her mouth. It seemed to know a lot of things. It also knew that I was gathering a lot of time to launch the Bullet of 12. It was also the one who gave me the information that you were studying in Lai-chan High School, lived in Wu He's house, and had Shixiang and Sifunai with you. It gave it to you? Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and he continued. You're saying you transferred to Zenhai to look for me because it provided you with the information you needed? That's right. Kurumi sighed. Speaking of which, it's thanks to it that I was able to get information from the outside and successfully integrate myself into human society. Hearing this, Kotori frowned. So you don't know anything about it? Sorry. Unfortunately, I don't know much about it. Kurumi looked at Kotori. Almost every time, it took the initiative to find me. The information it provided me was all given by it for free. I once suspected its purpose, but what it did was not harmful to me at all. So, I don't know why it did this. Kurumi glanced at Wu Yen when she said this. But it seems to be interested in House Sama. I even suspect it was its plan to meet House Sama. It's interested in me. Wu Yen raised an eyebrow and smiled. Is it because I went back in time and sealed Kotori's Reiki? Kurumi pondered for a moment and nodded. Apart from this possibility, there shouldn't be anything else. After all, in this world, the only one who can seal the power of the elves besides Shoujo is Husband. On top of that, Lord Husband also possesses a strength that is comparable to or even surpasses the elves. If I didn't become Lord Husband's summoner, I probably wouldn't have known what kind of existence Lord Husband is in my entire life, that's true. Wu Yen lowered his head and pursed his lips. It has done so many inexplicable things behind my back. It must have its own purpose. To it, an inexplicable existence like me should have disrupted its plan. It's not strange for it to pay attention to me. Even you don't know the true form of that shadow? Kotori turned to Wu Yen. Don't you know a lot about the dungeon worlds? Huh! Didn't I tell you when we were in the Bloodlust Frenzy world? I don't know everything about the dungeon worlds. Wu Yen bitterly smiled. Even though I know a lot more about this world compared to the blood-devouring frenzy world, unfortunately, that shadow is a mystery. Even I can't figure out what it is. You always drop the ball at the most crucial moments. How useless are you? Kotori harumphed coldly. At least I know why it turned me into a Reiki and why it gave the core of Reiki's Reiki to a human. That, I really don't know. Wu Yen turned his head away and he said this out of the blue. But I do know that there's another Reiki in this world like Kotori. She was given a Reiki by the shadow and turned into a Reiki. Kotori was shocked. She grabbed Wu Yan's collar and yelled angrily, "What did you say? Why didn't you tell me about such an important thing?" Wu Yen tilted his head back to avoid Kotori's saliva and pursed his lips. What can I do if I tell you? Do I even need to tell you? Kotori yelled angrily. Of course you have to communicate with her and seal her Reiki. I can't do anything about that. Wu Yen shrugged and explained before Kotori exploded, that Reiki hates men for some reason. She likes cute and pretty girls. Kotori's anger froze. Allah! Kurumi also opened her mouth in surprise. In other words, that's right. Wu Yen looked at Kotori and he teased her. Just like Lana, she's a Yuri lover, I can't handle her. Or, Kotori, are you going to sacrifice your looks? Kotori choked when she saw Wu Yen and Kurumi looking at her with strange gazes. She got angry and yelled at Wu Yen. I don't care. The task of communicating with the elf is yours. You have to take her down. Huh? Wu Yan's weird expression froze on his face as he exclaimed in surprise. Didn't I tell you she's a Reiki lover? That's your business. Kotori put her hands on her hip. You've successfully conquered a lot of people. Don't tell me you can't handle a Reiki. I really can't. Do you think I'm the god of strategy? Wu Yen complained loudly. That's changing a person's sexual orientation. Have you ever seen a strategy more difficult than this? I told you that's your business. Kotori narrowed her eyes and waved her hand impatiently. Do you still want a Reiki or not? Wu Yen flinched and he quickly nodded. Kotori grinned maliciously. If that's the case, you have to do your best to complete Ratatosker's mission. That way, I can apply for a Reiki from the higher-ups. Ugh! Wu Yan's lips twitched and he put on a fake smile. I can also go steal the AST or DM's display device. Ratatosker's parent organization, Ascade Electronics, has a more advanced Reiki technology than DM. Kotori looked at Wu Yen with a faint smile. Is that okay? Wu Yen didn't have anything else to say to that. Kotori nodded in satisfaction. Chapter 11-16. Heavenly Palace City, Lai-chan High School. Walking down the corridor towards the classroom, Wu Yen yawned in exhaustion. Shiori frowned and started reprimanding him. Shoujo, can you wake up a little? Even I feel sleepy seeing you like this. Can't help it, it's not my fault this time. Wu Yen scratched his cheeks and he bitterly shrugged. It was too late last night, I didn't get enough sleep. Too late. Shiori blinked. She looked at Toka, who was munching on a piece of bread, and Kurumi, who was hugging Wu Yan's arm intimately. She blushed when she saw Wu Yen on the left. Kurumi blushed when she saw Wu Yen on the right. Shoujo. Shiori purposely coughed while looking at Wu Yen from the corner of her eyes. I can't say too much about your private life, but I hope you can control yourself. Otherwise, as your sister, I will be troubled. That statement of yours makes me want to retort in all sorts of ways. Wu Yan's lips twitched. In your eyes, do I have to do something so impure in my private life? Isn't that right? Shiori closed one eye while squinting her other eye. She continued to squint at Wu Yen. Then let me ask you, Shoujo, what was it that made you fall asleep last night? Wu Yen opened his mouth. He wanted to say something but he couldn't find the words to say. Should he tell Shiori that he went to drive Fraxinus back to the airspace of Tiangong City last night so that the members of Ratatosker would have a place to go to work today? He didn't mind letting Shiori know, but Kotori was against dragging Shiori into this mess. If she knew that Wu Yen told Shiori about Ratatosker, Wu Yen would be in big trouble. That's why Wu Yen didn't know what to say. In Shirji's eyes, this kind of behavior left her speechless and unable to refute. Sigh. Shiori let out a sigh of disappointment and quickened her pace. Shoujo, you're Kotori's brother. You're not my real brother. I'll tell Kotori everything about you. Shiori sped up and disappeared at the end of the hallway as if she wanted to get away from the pervert. Watching Shiori disappear from his sight, Wu Yen covered his face with his hand. He looked at Kurumi, who was hugging his arm. Do I look like a pervert who can't live without women at night? Kwang-san was slightly startled. Then, her wine-red eyes widened a little, revealing an incredulous expression. Wu Yan's eyelids twitched and he shrugged. Okay. I understand. Hey. Toka tugged at Wu Yan's shirt and she asked in a curious tone. She just finished eating a piece of bread. What's a nightlife? Kurumi giggled. Wu Yan's face crumbled as he told Toka in an exasperated tone. If you were willing to answer this question when Shiori was here, I wouldn't be called a pervert. Shiori. 10 Fragrances paused for a moment, then looked around her. She exclaimed. Oh right. Where's Shiori? Where did she go? Is bread the only thing in your eyes? Wu Yen almost went crazy. She left in front of your eyes. Ha. Even Kurumi was in awe of 10 Fragrances' natural state. She couldn't help but laugh. She laughed until her stomach hurt. While the three of them were fooling around, the door to the classroom appeared in front of the three of them, stare. The moment Wu Yen, Kurumi, and Toka entered the classroom, all the noises in the classroom died down, the classroom became silent. Numerous gazes swept over the three of them without any explanation. There were all kinds of emotions in them. Some were envious, some were probing, some were curious, and some were jealous, but most of them were disdain. Disdain for Wu Yen. After all, in their eyes, Toka had just shouted at Kurumi, I'm Shoujo's girlfriend, you're just Shoujo's fiancé. That's right. But now, the three of them were lovey-dovey, intimate, and harmonious. It would be strange if they didn't attract attention when they went to school together. Of course, the rumor about the name, Itsuka Shoujo changed from two-timing to openly two-timing. It made the boys jealous and the girls hate and despise him. Feeling all kinds of gazes from around him, Wu Yen didn't show any reaction on the surface, but he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Recently, no matter which world he was in, he seemed to attract attention. From this point of view, he really has the destiny of a protagonist. Wu Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he sat down on his seat. He started chatting with Kurumi and Toka. He treated everyone else as if they're nothing more than dirt. He teased the two beauties without a care in the world, causing them to giggle with him. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the boys in the class almost burst into flames. They beat their chests and stomped their feet, tears streaming down their faces. Whether it was Kurumi or Toka, the two of them were super beauties. Such a beautiful girl, in the entire Lai-chan High School, was already qualified to be the school belle. Now, the school beauties were chatting passionately with an unremarkable boy. How could they not be envious? Hey Wu Yen! A few girls surrounded Shiori and began to criticize Wu Yen. Your brother is two-timing, shouldn't you do something about it? Shoujo isn't two-timing, you know. Shiori also thinks that Wu Yen is a bit of a playboy, but in front of outsiders, she chose to side with him. She shook her head and shook her head. You see, isn't this a common plot in TV shows? Originally, the two of them loved each other very much. But one day, a fiancé suddenly appeared and said that their engagement was set by their parents. Shiori explained. Shoujo is like this now. In fact, there's nothing going on between him and Tokasaki-san. Shoujo really likes Toka. From this sentence, it can be seen that Shiori is on Toka's side. I see. The girls nodded in agreement. They looked at Wu Yen with a friendlier gaze. Shiori released a sigh of relief when she saw this. But at this moment, Itsuka Shoujo, while Wu Yen, Kurumi, and Toka were chatting happily, an extremely calm and indifferent voice suddenly sounded. Hearing this familiar voice, Wu Yan's body stiffened. He turned his head reflexively. The figure that entered his sight was not out of his expectations. It's Toka Origami. Tabichi Origami. Wu Yen averted his gaze. He couldn't help but feel a bit worried. This Toka Origami, she won't make a move right here, right? Perhaps seeing Wu Yan's thoughts, Toka Origami raised her head and stared straight at Wu Yan's face. I have something to say to you. The entire classroom went silent. Could it be that having a foot in two boats was a thing of the past, and now he was having a foot in three boats? This thought appeared in the minds of almost all the students present. Therefore, a piercing gaze pierced Wu Yan's back. Wu Yen felt a chill down his spine for a moment. Wiping the sweat on his forehead, Wu Yen dryly laughed. Toka Origami. I have something to say to you. Toka Origami used the same tone to interrupt Wu Yen. At the same time, there was an unquestionable look in her eyes. Seeing this, Wu Yen knew that if he didn't make things clear to Toka Origami, she wouldn't give up. Hey! Toka Origami! On the side, Toka couldn't help but yell. What do you want to do to Shoujo? Toka Origami ignored Toka and continued to stare at Wu Yen. This made Toka a bit angry. I say you. Toka. Patting Toka's shoulder and giving her a reassuring look, Wu Yen walked out of the classroom. Toka Origami immediately followed. As soon as the two walked out of the classroom, the entire classroom became noisy. Shirji. Many female students looked at Shirji. Are you sure your brother only likes Okami? Shirji smiled embarrassedly and tiredly laid on the table. I don't care. Chapter 11-17. There's not much time left before class starts. In the hallway, the uniformed students are marching towards their respective classrooms. Wu Yen and Tabichi Origami are the only ones who are walking in the opposite direction under the curious gazes of the other students. Along the way, the two of them didn't say a word. They maintained their silence and walked against the flow of people until they reached the staircase. They climbed up the stairs and walked to the door of the rooftop that was tightly locked, as if they had planned this beforehand. Wu Yen and Tabichi Origami stopped at the same time. They turned around at the same time and faced each other. If anyone saw this scene, they would think that one of them brought the other here to confess. If you don't look at the serious expression on their faces. In the distance, the noise of the students from Lichon High School was still reverberating, clearly reaching their ears. However, at this moment, the two of them had already selectively blocked out all the sound. They were clearly less than 3 or 4 steps away from the crowd, but the scene had strangely formed a silent space that seemed to be isolated from the rest of the world. Looking at Tabichi Origami's delicate doll-like face, Wu Yen had the thought of, if only she could smile. Of course, it's just a fleeting thought, Wu Yen knows. Making Tabichi Origami smile is harder than making Ikaros smile. After all, Tabichi Origami carries a burden that normal high school students can't bear. Hatred. And this hatred exploded when he saw Kotori yesterday. Wu Yen can more or less guess why Tabichi Origami brought him here. To be honest, with the hatred in Tabichi Origami's heart, it's a bit out of Wu Yan's expectation that she didn't attack him immediately. But if possible, he doesn't want Tabichi Origami to hurt Kotori. Even though, compared to Tabichi Origami, Kotori is much stronger, Wu Yen doesn't want to see that happen. So, if possible, he also wants to erase Tabichi Origami's hatred. Even if he can't erase the hatred in her heart, he has to at least make Tabichi Origami believe him. Kotori isn't her enemy, but with Tabichi Origami's personality, she probably wouldn't believe what he said. Wu Yen can only try his best. If Tabichi Origami doesn't want to let Kotori go, then for Kotori, Wu Yen has to use some tough methods. Of course, that's for later. Wu Yen thought about telling her the real enemy who killed Tabichi Origami's parents, but he immediately gave up on that idea. Because that's more difficult than letting Tabichi Origami give up her hatred, believe him, and smile from the bottom of her heart. If she knows the truth, Tabichi Origami might completely lose her motivation to survive and collapse. The only thing he can't say is the truth. Even if he did say it, Tabichi Origami wouldn't believe him. She might even view him as an enemy and misunderstand him. Now Wu Yen can only go with the flow. Amidst the dead silence, Tabichi Origami kept her emotionless gaze on Wu Yen. Wu Yen didn't say anything and didn't look like he was going to open his mouth. It's not clear if Tabichi Origami got impatient or she couldn't take it anymore, so she went straight to the point. What did you mean by what you said yesterday? Staring straight into Wu Yan's eyes, Tabichi Origami spoke as if it was a routine. Wu Yen could feel Tabichi Origami's gaze sharpening. Wu Yen raised his head and smiled. Since you chose to ask me, can I take it that you believe me? No. I didn't believe you. Koichi Origami said without hesitation. It's just that I can't tell which one of the 2 fire elves is the real murderer of my parents. In other words, both of you are my enemies. That's an unexpected answer. Wu Yen closed his eyes. Since you didn't choose to believe me, why did you still ask me? If Kotori is your enemy, then I will protect her, but if I am your enemy... Wu Yen slowly opened his eyes and looked straight into Tabichi Origami's eyes. Do you think I will confess my crimes? Hearing this, Yuichi Origami's face finally changed a little. She clenched her teeth tightly and clenched her fist. Tell me. Her delicate face became a little ferocious and pained. She raised her voice as if she was questioning and pleading. 5 years ago, was it you or Kotori who killed my parents? It has nothing to do with Kotori, Wu Yen said calmly as if he didn't notice Tabichi Origami's expression. Kotori is a human. Due to some fortuitous encounter, she obtained the power of a fairy and turned into a fairy. She didn't want to cause the fire 5 years ago. Wu Yen shook his head while ignoring Koichi Origami's shocked expression. From the moment she obtained the power of the elves to the moment I sealed Kotori's power, Kotori stayed in the same spot and didn't move a single step. Therefore, she didn't kill anyone. A human obtained the power of a fairy? You sealed it? Tokichi Origami's eyes fluctuated violently. He gritted his teeth and gradually increased the strength of his teeth. Do you think I'll believe that? I clearly saw a fairy at that time. Let's not talk about whether you saw it or not. Wu Yen waved his hand and interrupted Tabichi Origami. Even if you did, are you sure it was Kotori you saw? Tabichi Origami paused, she furrowed her brows. That day, I saw the silhouette of the elf who killed my parents. How can you be sure it was Kotori just by looking at her? Wu Yen glared at Tabichi Origami. Tabichi Origami couldn't help but take a few steps back. You didn't even see her face. How can you be so sure? Tabichi Origami's expression changed. She bit her lips. You're right, I didn't see the fairy's face. But how can you prove that Kotori has nothing to do with this? Are you the one who killed my parents? No matter how I look at it, it's just a lie you made up to protect Kotori. Tabichi Origami pointed at Wu Yen. If you didn't do it, then show me proof, otherwise I won't believe you. Following Origami's words, the atmosphere in the room suddenly became heavy. Looking at Yuichi Origami pointing at him with one hand, but her teeth were constantly biting his lips, and she was still using force. He was afraid that if this continued, it would not be strange for her lips to be bitten by her. It's easy to imagine how painful it is for Tabichi Origami to lose her parents. Under such pain, if Tokichi Origami were to find out the true identity of the murderer who killed her parents, that's too cruel. Wu Yen smiled bitterly. You're right, I can't prove that Kotori didn't kill your parents, but you can't prove that Kotori killed your parents either, right? Wu Yen lifted his head and looked at Tabichi Origami. Or do you plan to kill the wrong person rather than let them go? Kill me and Shoujo's sister and suffer the same pain of losing a loved one as you do? Sure. Koichi Origami's face instantly turned pale. She lowered her head and used her bangs to cover her face. She was unable to say anything else. Wu Yen didn't say anything else. He just stared at Toichi Origami, trying to figure out something from her expression. However, he could only see Toichi Origami's slender shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Clearly, Origami Kite was also struggling. Wu Yen didn't know what happened between Tabichi Origami and Shiori that made Shiori so important to Tabichi Origami. However, it's still a good thing that he managed to turn Tabichi Origami's mind upside down. It wasn't until a long time later when the class bell rang that Tokichi Origami took a deep breath and raised her head. Her face once again returned to normal. I will find the murderer. Leaving these words behind, Yuani Origami walked away without looking back. Wu Yen leaned against the wall and looked up at the ceiling. He sighed. Temporary peace is a good thing. Chapter 11:18. In the sky above Tiangong City, Fraxinus, the walls and floor were made of machine-like steel and wiring. A cold luster leaked out from all directions. Wu Yen walked along the narrow steel corridor that looks like a submarine passage. His footsteps echoed as he walked towards the end of the corridor. There was a small electronic panel on the side of the door. After a while, Wu Yen was less than a meter away from the door. He didn't stop, he continued walking forward. The electronic panel beeped and the door opened automatically, revealing the situation inside. Just like the bridge of a spaceship, starting from the door and going from the outside to the inside, the floor extended into a semicircular shape, forming a large room. In the center, there was a high platform with a steel chair on the platform. On the left and right sides of the platform, there was a gentle staircase going down the stairs. There were 2 rows of seats on both sides equipped with high-tech precision instruments. A group of Ratatosker members were sitting there and operating the instrument. They didn't seem out of place at all. It seemed like the members of Ratatosker didn't know about this. Right now, the airship they were on, Fraxinus, wasn't in this place until last night. Even its existence had changed. Now, Fraxinus was no longer a pure airship equipped with all kinds of display devices and sophisticated instruments. Instead, it had turned into a relic. It's a noble relic that is as strong as a golden armament. Putting other aspects aside, just the body's defense alone had increased by quite a bit. Come to think of it, even if it was directly attacked by some powerful offensive display device, it should be able to withstand it. The members of Ratatoskr don't know that no matter how familiar they are with the spaceship, they can't control Fraxinus. Wu Yen can nullify all of their operations with a single thought. Fraxinus has become Wu Yan's exclusive noble relic. Other than him, no one else can control it, unless Wu Yen agrees. Wu Yen walked into Fraxinus's command room. Everyone in the room looked at Wu Yen, including Kotori, Kamui Kuhei, Murasame Rain, and Wu Yan's two direct subordinate, Shina Kanamiya, Yatsuki Chinyu. Captain. Seeing Wu Yen coming in, Janamiya Shina and Yatsuki Chinyu immediately called out to him. Wu Yen nodded and he walked in front of the two. He looked at Shina before looking at Yatsuki Chinyu. Then, he smiled at the two of them. Looks like your injuries are almost healed. In the battle with Kurumi, Shina, Yatsuki, and Utsuki suffered heavy injuries. Before Wu Yen left this world, the two of them were still recovering from their wound. Thank you for your concern, Captain. Yatsuki Chinyu touched his back and smiled. She looked like a blooming lotus flower, very beautiful. It's a pity that under that beautiful face, there's a man's heart. Although it's troublesome to deal with the bullets that contain spiritual energy, I managed to finish it by today. My injuries are all healed. Well, it's within my expectations. Zhen Na nodded like a little adult. Her petite body was like a little adult. He exuded an incredible sense of maturity. Ratatoskr's display technology is better than DM's except for combat. Although it's troublesome to deal with the bullets that contain spiritual energy, a few days should be enough, as long as you guys are fine. Wu Yen patted them on the shoulder. Kotori nodded in agreement. Wu Yen looked like he cared about his subordinate. Kotori nodded, but she quickly focused on the machine in front of her. Wu Yen asked curiously, "What are you doing? You're so busy. Do you think everyone is as free as you?" Kotori said without turning her head as she chewed on the pearl in her mouth. She took a bite out of her mouth and glanced at Wu Yen. The information about Phantom hasn't been uploaded into the database yet. In order to prevent me from losing my memory again and losing important information, I'll be busy for the time being. Phantom? Wu Yen flinched at first, then he nodded in relief. Is it that Phantom? Yes, Kotori nodded, her eyes were still on the machine in front of her. Although I don't know what kind of existence it is, but to possess such power, it's most likely an elf. That's why I gave it a name. If it's possible, I hope that I can analyze its spiritual energy fluctuation. Is that possible? Wu Yen couldn't help but ask. Phantom has never appeared in public before. 5 years ago, when Phantom gave me the spiritual crystal, a short part of it was captured by a nearby surveillance camera. Kotori narrowed her eyes. Although it's only a short period of time, it's the only evidence that can prove that the Phantom has appeared. I must analyze it thoroughly. If everything goes well, I might be able to capture a little bit of spiritual energy fluctuation. I see. Wu Yen pondered and smiled. Well, as expected of Kotori. She didn't make any mistakes. Looks like I can't fall behind as her brother. Wu Yen turned serious and looked at Shina, Yuki Chinyu and Yuki Chinyu. How's the information I asked you guys to collect? Hearing this, Kotori couldn't help but stop her work. Shina and Chinyu also looked at each other and nodded. It's not ideal, but we've got the general information. Yuki Chinyu took a step forward and flipped through a document. Temptress Meijio, a student of Dragon Gut Temple Women's College. Her age is unknown. Although she's a student, She's actually a very popular singer who has only debuted half a year ago. She's currently active as an idol. Raising his head, Yatsuki Chinyu looked at Wu Yen and handed him the information while frowning at the same time. I don't know why, but the information about seductive night Meijyo only started from half a year ago. As for the information about seductive night Meijyo, no matter where I looked, I couldn't find any information about her. Yeah, Captain. Shinna stared at Wu Yen with a confused look in his eyes. Even Ratatosker can't find any information about seductress Meijyo before half a year ago. This seductress Meijyo seems to be special. Of course it's not normal. Wu Yen sighed as he flipped through the information in his hand. Well, it's not surprising that you can't find any information about Temptress Meijyo from half a year ago. After all, she only changed the name Temptress Meijyo half a year ago. Before that, her name was Xiao Dayuno. She changed her name. Shinna was surprised but relieved. No wonder we can't find any information about her before half a year ago. Captain, Yuki Chinyu said. Do you want me to find out more about Yuki Kitsune? Wu Yen pondered for a bit before nodding his head. Find out more about Yuki Kitsune and give it to me by today. Yes, Captain. Captain. Yayue Chinyu answered and immediately ran out of the command room to collect information. It was only then that Kotori spoke up. Seductress Meijyo is a human like me who's been given fairy powers? Shinna was shocked. Wu Yen looked at Kotori and nodded. You should know her true form as well. Her identification name is Diva. Diva? Kotori paused for a moment and said in surprise, So Temptress Meijyo is the diva who appeared once half a year ago? That's right. Wu Yen shrugged. Everything about Seductress Meijyo started half a year ago, do you understand now? She turned into a fairy half a year ago. Kotori's eyes flashed. So, what do you plan to do? What should I do? Wu Yen scratched his cheeks as he looked at a piece of information in the file. Anyway, let's get to know her first. Chapter 11-19. This is a square located in the corner of Tiangong City. The area of the square was not very big. It was only the size of a sports field. Therefore, there were not many people in the square. It was only bustling with activity. Scattered groups of people walked through the square while laughing with each other. However, they did not linger for long. They were just passing by. This is not only because the square area is not large, more importantly, there are no entertainment facilities in the square, there are no commercial stores, just an empty space, there are only a few chairs for passers-by to rest. Generally speaking, this is not a place that attracts people, at least, it is usually like this. However, today there are a lot more people in the square than usual, and almost all of them are girls. If you look carefully, you will find that these girls passing by the square are very purposefully walking in one direction. Their faces are full of smiles, very happily chatting about something. In their hands there are some light sticks and fans engraved with a person's picture in their arms. They are tightly holding it in their arms like it is a treasure. While walking, they do not forget to look at it from time to time, as if they are worried that it will disappear at any time. Seeing this group of people with a little bit of brain will basically have a fixed impression flashing through their minds, that is, the fans who go to the concert of a certain star. Coincidentally, not far away from this empty square, there was a huge commotion. There is a place suitable for concerts or large-scale entertainment activities. Today, in that venue, there is indeed a concert, which is little known. Walking in the square, looking at the bustling girls, who are walking in twos and threes, Wu Yen pursed his lips. His footsteps are a little hesitant. Tempting Night Beauty, a popular singer, debuted half a year ago. She has a beautiful voice that is like an auditory drug. Once with overwhelming singing skills, she has released many super popular songs. Once, she became a super singer on the internet, even surpassing many old singers, widely spread. It was just that this super singer who was widely known. She has never appeared on TV or in magazines. Also, she has never shown her true appearance in front of people. Even if it is about idle activities, she will only release some CD songs regularly, and even the concert is held secretly. Only some fans are invited to participate, and all of them are female fans. Therefore, even though this idol singer was already a superstar, only a handful of people had seen her face. She was so mysterious that people started to wonder if she really existed. Right now, in the entertainment area near the plaza, there was a secret concert held by Shoujo. Wu Yan also came to know about this matter from the information collected by Zhen Na and Yuechenyu. As for the hesitation in his footsteps, that was inevitable. After all, Temptress Meijo is a Yuri lover. Of course, it wouldn't be a big problem if she was only a lover of lilies. The biggest problem was that this elf who loved beautiful women had a completely opposite attitude towards men. She hated men to the core, to the point where she would belittle the other party to the point that they were lower than cockroaches without even saying a word. Wu Yan could imagine that if he really went to see Xiao Meijiu like this, the result would definitely not be good. Is this really okay? Koteri's comforting voice came from the wireless earpiece. Xiao Meijiu hates men to the core. You will definitely make her hostile if you go there like this. Don't even think about the strategy. You should listen to my advice here. Cross-dressing? Wu Yan rudely interrupted Koteri. Don't even think about it. Seriously, why are you so stubborn? Koteri said angrily. It's just a countermeasure. It's not like I'm actually going to turn you into a woman. Why don't you compromise? If I really do that, I will lose the most important thing to me. Wu Yan didn't hide his disgust. You should let Yue do it. I don't have the fortune to enjoy it anyways. You? Koteri's sigh came from the other side of the earpiece, followed by a tired voice. Then what are you going to do? You won't be able to defeat Xiao Meijiu. Who said I have to do it? Ha! For a moment, Koteri thought she misheard him. I'm not sure, Ori. I don't need to raise favorability to seal spirits. Wu Yan pursed his lips. Koteri didn't understand what he was trying to say. But the sealing bracelet can only be worn by the target willingly. A strategy is necessary, right? You're right. Wu Yan rubbed his forehead and shook his head. There's always a way, just don't make me cross-dressing. Tisk. Koteri pouted. It's up to you. Do whatever you want. It's fine as long as you succeed. Well, I can't guarantee success. Sighing, Wu Yan walked out of the plaza and headed for the concert venue. Anyway, I'll take it one step at a time. Following behind the fans with light sticks in their hands, Wu Yan came across a building with a semicircular roof. One by one, the female fans lined up in an orderly manner and slowly walked into the building. Not far away, some passers-by curiously looked at this phenomenon and guessed whether there was an event being held. Some of the more curious ones had already stepped forward to inquire. Those who came up to ask questions, if they were women, they would be greeted with smiles and answers. However, the men were chased out without any explanation. Each and every one of them had a look of indignation on their faces as they walked away while cursing. Wu Yan was speechless. She didn't even let the male fans ask about it. Xiao Meijiu really hates men. In that case, I can't go in openly. Wu Yan watched the female fans enter the building and close the door. He pondered for a moment and smiled. With a slight movement of his body, he disappeared from where he stood without anyone noticing him. Meijiu! 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 When Wu Yan reappeared, the first thing that entered his ears was the loud cheers that could break through the ceiling. He was completely unprepared for this, and he quickly scanned his surroundings. The first thing he saw was the auditorium full of light sticks. The surroundings were dark, and the only light sources were the countless glow sticks in the audience seats and the spotlights from the stage that could be seen at a glance. Coming back to his senses from the deafening cheers, he found himself standing at the end of the staircase of the auditorium. Behind him is a door. It looks like it's the door that leads to the outside. At the very front of the stage, in the center, stood a young girl wearing gorgeous clothes with a great figure. She wore a dress with hollow sleeves and lace ribbons. Her lower body was a dress with wrinkles that looked like it was made of light. It was very eye-catching. Under the spotlights, the girl's violet hair sparkled with starlight. She wore a moon-shaped accessory on the side of her hair. It was as if the entire night sky was compressed into her beautiful hair. She also had a pair of silver eyes that were extremely attractive. Beautiful. Really beautiful. Even Wu Yen couldn't help but be amazed by the girl's extreme beauty. The girl on the stage was dancing gracefully. She used very few moves to create a pleasing dance. She also had a sweet smile on her face as she sang a song. It was a song with a seductive tone. Wu Yen couldn't help but praise the song. Soon, he noticed something. This extremely beautiful voice seemed to contain traces of a different kind of spiritual energy. The effect of the spiritual energy is similar to Shokuho Misaki's mind control. It's both hypnotizing and seductive. In other words, the beautiful girl on the stage is using the power of the fairies to hypnotize and seduce her fans. Chapter 11:20. The intoxicating singing voice reverberated in the vast space, filling every corner. The most beautiful voice in the world continued to turn into ripples and undulated. Every fan present was holding a glow stick in their hands, cheering at the top of their lungs. Traces of infatuation remained in their eyes, listening to the invasive singing that kept trying to drill into his mind. He frowned as he looked at the crazed looks of the fans in the audience. Although the spiritual energy contained in the song was small, it was enough to affect ordinary people. The fans present must have been affected by the song to some extent, which was why they were cheering so crazily, right? Although the singing was pretty good without the element of spiritual energy, a normal song wouldn't be able to make people go crazy like this. Looking at the beautiful girl who is still immersed in his performance, Wu Yan's eyes flashed with a glint. Night Tempter Meijyo, level 73. Is she Night Tempter Meijyo? Wu Yan didn't know if Kotori shared the information he got from the system. Kotori's low voice came from the other side of the earpiece. He could faintly hear her grinding her teeth. Could it be that she's wearing spiritual equipment? Why is she showing it in front of so many people? What is she thinking? TSK, who knows? Wu Yan pursed his lips. Maybe they're using the stage effects as an excuse to hype up the atmosphere? Maybe she doesn't care about her elf identity being exposed. That Night Tempter Meijyo is too reckless. Kotori snorted. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Wu Yan scratched his face. He had a headache. Although he was here, he really didn't know how to get in touch with Xiao Meijyo. Night Tempter Meijyo is like a virus, she doesn't even want to look at him, let alone touch him. Wu Yan sighed as he watched the beautiful figure of Temptress Meijyo dancing and singing on the stage. Why does such a beautiful girl have such a troublesome personality? He is even harder to deal with than Kwang-san. Didn't you take care of Kurumi too? Kotori's voice turned vicious. So, you'd better be straightforward and take in that lesbian girl. What you said is very interesting. Wu Yan almost fell to the ground. You're the only one in the world who would ask her husband to take in other girls. Shut up. Kotori, who had been speaking in a menacing tone a second ago, snapped. At this second, Kotori's voice was filled with shame and anger. The other members of Ratatosker gasped in shock, and Kanazuki Kyuhei screamed like the sky was falling down. Kotori yelled out loud. Hurry up and get rid of her. Can't you at least let me be mentally prepared? Seducing Xiao Meijyo is too difficult. Wu Yan smiled bitterly. Suddenly, the beautiful song that had been reverberating in the air came to an abrupt stop. As the song stopped, the cheers of the fans in the audience also stopped. Instead, it was replaced by whispers full of doubts. Sensing something amiss, Wu Yan lifted his head and looked at the stage. His gaze met with a pair of rigid bright silver eyes on the stage. Wu Yan's heart skipped a beat. Seducing Xiao Meijyo, who was singing and dancing with a smile on her face, was looking at him. The smile on her face stiffened, and her dancing movements froze on the spot along with her body. Only a pair of beautiful big eyes rippled uncontrollably, until finally, it turned into utter disgust. Under everyone's bewildered gazes, seducing Xiao Meiju stopped dancing and lowered her head. Her bangs that were at the same height as her eyebrows covered her expression. The fans in the audience screamed in shock. The audience was in chaos. Bad news. Koteri's raised voice sounded through the earpiece. Seducing Xiao Meiju's favorability is dropping at an unimaginable rate. It's infinitely close to zero. No. It's already in the negatives. Wu Yan's expression darkened. In the end, it's still like this? Just then, why, a sweet voice sounded like a mosquito and miraculously entered the ears of everyone who was in the midst of the commotion. Then, everyone could see it. Seducing Xiao Meiju raised her head and stared at Wu Yan as if he was a disgusting insect. She screamed, "Why is there such a filthy thing at my concert?" His voice, which was filled with disgust, was shockingly loud. Like a gust of wind, his voice turned into a sound wave, exploding towards the audience like a shock wave. Ah! All of a sudden, the fans in the audience were the first to be hit by the sound waves that turned into shock waves. It was as if they had been hit by an invisible air pressure. One by one, they screamed and were blown away, smashing into the chairs or walls. While they were howling in pain, each of them had suffered considerable injuries. Wu Yan's pupils constricted. Then, anger filled his wine-red eyes. Seducing Xiao Meiju vented her anger on ordinary people because of her mood? These people are all her fans. Wu Yan couldn't help but be enraged when he saw the girls wailing in pain. His gaze turned cold when he looked at the temptress Meiju. "Don't look at me with your filthy eyes." Her voice was very sweet and she looked very beautiful. But the words coming out of seducing Xiao Meiju's mouth were very vicious. Her eyes were full of disgust. "Damn it! Whenever I think of my singing being heard by a filthy creature like you, I feel uncomfortable all over." Taking a deep breath, seducing Xiao Meiju's full breasts immediately protruded. When they reached the limit, seducing Xiao Meiju opened her mouth. "Ah!" A long high-pitched voice echoed from seducing Xiao Meiju's mouth and turned into a wind wave. It was like the impact after an explosion, mixed with a strong pressure. It was like a substance, violently swinging in the direction of Wu Yan. Wherever it passed, the seats of the audience were all blown away. Even the people who had fallen on the ground were shaken up again and smashed down heavily. Witnessing all this, Wu Yan's eyes became more and more cold. Looking at the sound wave, he didn't dodge or do anything. He just stood there and looked coldly at seducing Xiao Meiju. That cold gaze made seducing Xiao Meiju's face change. She couldn't help but feel a little timid. Finally, the sound waves hit Wu Yan's body. His clothes and hair fluttered in the wind, but his body didn't move at all. Like a statue standing tall in the middle of a storm, he didn't move at all. "What?" Seducing Xiao Meiju's eyes widened a little, and she couldn't help but step back. He didn't move under her voice that contained offensive spiritual power. This had never happened before. Even those magicians of AST couldn't do it. How did this man do it? Could it be that he is the magician of AST? But he didn't wear those equipment on his body. Or is he also an elf? While thinking this in her heart, seducing Xiao Meiju wanted to raise her head and look at the man again. But when she raised her head, the position where the man originally stood was already empty. Night Temptress Meiju was startled. Before she could react, a rough voice that only men would have, that made her extremely disgusted, resounded from behind her. "Where are you looking at?" Seducing Xiao Meiju's body stiffened, she quickly turned around and looked behind her. On the other side of the stage, Wu Yan stood there straight, facing seducing Xiao Meiju. There was a faint smile on his face, but there was no smile at all. Obviously, Wu Yan was a little angry at seducing Xiao Meiju's actions. Seducing Xiao Meiju furrowed her brows. She didn't hesitate to distance herself from Wu Yan. It's not because she's afraid, it's because she hates men. She subconsciously distanced herself from Wu Yen. The two's actions were captured by Kotori and the others in Fraxinus through the big screen. Kotori's expression turned heavy. Even Onii-chan is angry. This is going to be troublesome. Chapter 11:21. In the command room of Fraxinus, the members of Ratatoskr raised their heads and looked at the two of them on the big screen. Seductive Beauty's favorability bar is still dropping. They started to panic a little. "Commander," a member of Ratatoskr said in a panic. "The diva's spiritual energy fluctuations are starting to become unstable. If this goes on, it's very likely to cause a spacequake." "Captain." Zhen's fist clenched and unclenched, then clenched and unclenched again. His usually serious face was now filled with nervousness. In fact, it wasn't just him. Beside him, everyone, including Kotori, was nervous. "This doesn't look good." Kotori bit hard on the pearl in her mouth, trying to use the sweetness to ease the tension in her heart. "If this continues, Seductive Meijo's favorability will drop. We won't be able to continue the battle." "Captain isn't going to fight Seductive Meijo, right?" Yatsuki Chinyu's expression is uncertain. "He shouldn't be that reckless, right?" "Captain, that might not be the case." Kotori frowned. Because she saw something she hated, she vented her emotions on ordinary people. In fact, those people are even her fans. Seducing Xiao Meijo is indeed too much. With brother's personality, I'm afraid he's really angry now. What should we do? Shina looked at Kotori. "If the captain really fights with the diva, then the AST side will definitely rush over as well. Indeed, it won't be a good thing if we run into her again." Kotori recalled Tabichi Origami's cold face. She clenched her teeth. "We can only trust Onii-san's judgment." Kotori turned to Shina and Yatsuki Chinyu. She announced. "Shina, Yatsuki, you two go over there first. If AST's people show up, we must stop them." Shina and Yatsuki Chinyu nodded and ran out of the command room. Kotori turned to everyone. "Everyone, get ready for battle. Spacequake alarm is on standby. Once we detect a spacequake alarm, sound the alarm." "Yes." Shin Wuyue. Kotori lowered her head and said to Kyuhei Kanazuki, "Onii-chan and the temptress Meiju are going to fight. Go and make arrangements to save all the fans in the venue." "Understood." Kanazuki Kyuhei saluted energetically and ran out of the command room, shouting and yelling. Then, he arranged all the things that needed to be done. Kotori's furrowed brows finally relaxed. She looked at Wu Yen, who was smiling on the big screen, but there was no smile in his eyes. "He's really a troublesome brother." On the stage of the concert, looking at Meijo, who was looking at him with disgust, Wu Yen looked around. His gaze swept across the fans who were lying on the ground and wailing in pain, and his emotionless voice suddenly sounded. "Do you know what you've done?" "Huh?" Temptress Meijo was stunned for a moment. Then, she frowned and her sweet voice echoed in the air. "I don't know what you're talking about, but can you please not talk to me like nothing happened? It's super disgusting. They're all your fans, aren't they?" Wu Yen ignored Mikoto's words and he continued talking, as if he was minding his own business. His face was calm. "You're a popular artist. Is this how you treat your fans?" Meijo's brows twitched. She followed Wu Yan's gaze and looked at the audience. She looked at the girls who were groaning in pain on the ground. She seemed to realize what happened and laughed out loud. Then, a sentence that caused Wu Yan's expression to freeze up came out of Mikoto's mouth. Along with her innocent laughter, her words spread across the stage. "Are you kidding me? Since they're my fans, of course they have to accept all of me. I can do whatever I want." Just as she finished speaking, the smile on Temptress Meijo's face froze. She keenly felt that the atmosphere at the scene seemed to be a little different. It made her feel like she was in a deep quagmire and couldn't breathe. Because they're your fans, you can do whatever you want. They have to accept it. Wu Yen looked at Meijo calmly. Even if it's you who inflicts pain, they have to accept it gratefully. Is that what you mean? Seeing the smile on Wu Yan's face, Meiju would feel that smile was extremely disgusting. But at this moment, that smile made Meiju feel cold in her heart. However, Temptress Meiju still nodded and spoke matter-of-factly. They like me so much. Aren't they willing to get hurt for me? Willing? Wu Yan stared at Meiju. You said willing? That's right. That's right. Temptress Meiju leisurely called out, everyone will listen to me obediently. After saying that, Knight Temptress Beauty Jo suddenly opened her hands. Under her feet, a ripple-like wave suddenly fluctuated and spread across the entire stage. The Army Destroyer Songstress. As if responding to seductive Beauty Jo's call, a huge castle-like metal block slowly emerged from the flashing ripples under her feet and set up on the stage. It's a huge pipe organ connected to a slender silver cylinder. It's as big as the stage. That's... Koteri's pupils shrunk when she saw this. She shouted in shock. Is that an angel? Wu Yan frowned when he heard Koteri's voice. He thought of something and he extended his consciousness to Fraxinus. He shut down all the systems in the command room and he ignored the commotion in his earpiece. He looked at Temptress Meiju. In the auditorium, those who slowly got up from the ground seemed to have noticed this. They looked at each other. Temptress Meiju smiled maliciously and waved her hand. As if she was drawing something, following the trajectory of Knight Tempting Meiju's hand, a long flashing organ keyboard appeared in front of her. Then, he lured Xiao Meiju's hand onto the keyboard of Light Let's Sing. Army Destroyer Singer, Gab Japel. The next moment, a strange sound came from the huge organ standing on the stage. From the connected silver cylinders, clear syllables overlapped, turning into sound waves within the ripples that spread out in all directions. The air in the entire venue was violently vibrated by the sound waves. The sound waves entered the ears of everyone present and directly invaded their minds. It was not until more than 10 seconds later that the sound waves that swept through the entire venue like a storm gradually calmed down and finally disappeared. At the same time, all the sounds at the scene disappeared. Regardless of whether it was the strange zither music or the audience's anguished howls, they all disappeared. Not even the sound of talking or footsteps could be heard. No, that's not the only thing that changed. In the audience stands, the audience members who were still struggling to get up were like mechanical dolls. They stood up straight and did not make any extra movements. Their heads were lowered and their faces were expressionless. The light in their eyes had completely disappeared. Wu Yan looked at the audience who stood up in unison like mannequins. Wu Yan seemed to have expected this. He glanced at them and he looked at Temptress Miku with a calm expression. Noticing Wu Yan's gaze, Miku's expression darkened. She pressed her slender fingers on the keyboard and played a syllable. Catch him. The audience straightened their backs in unison, held the glow sticks in their hands, and rushed directly to the stage. The messy and neat footsteps entered Wu Yan's ears. He finally looked at them. Looking at Meiju's happy expression, Wu Yan closed his eyes. He took a deep breath and shouted. Stop! Chapter 11:22. Army Destroyer Singer, Gab Japel. The angel that seduced Meiju. It was a huge organ with a keyboard of light. It could play different kinds of music, and depending on the music, the effect would be different. Because Knight Temptress Meiju's ability was to control sound, once Knight Temptress Meiju made a request with her voice infused with spiritual energy, normal humans without spiritual energy would be unable to resist and obey. And the existence of the angel, the Army Destroyer Singer, raised Seduction Meiju's ability to the limit. In just an instant, thousands of people in the venue fell into Seduction Meiju's control, just as Seduction Meiju had said. Everyone would listen to her obediently, because Meiju had the ability to control them. Even if she really wanted them to die, these fans who had turned into puppets would not hesitate. This is what Yakumo Meiju wanted to convey to Wu Yan. In fact, if Wu Yen did not cut off Fraxinus's voice in time, then everyone in Ratatoskr would have fallen into Meijo's control and would not be able to turn around. Such behavior was simply too vile. Even if Wu Yen knew about Meijo's situation in advance, and also knew why Meijo became like this, he could not help but get angry. Killing Meijo was definitely not something Wu Yen could do, but as for the actions of seducing Xiao Meijo, he also looked down on her. Wu Yen couldn't help but feel a sense of disgust towards this carefree, incomparably arrogant seductress who treats others like toys. Even if there's a reason for this, he couldn't help but feel a bit angry. Freeze! Looking at the sea of people rushing towards him, Wu Yen coldly shouted. Suddenly, the syllables mixed with traces of magical fluctuations spread through the entire venue. In the next second, all the people who were rushing over like zombies, as if they had heard the supreme command, all froze on the spot and could no longer move. How could this be? Temptress Meijo's bright silver eyes fluctuated violently. Her face was full of disbelief. Then she glared at Wu Yen hatefully. "What did you do?" "What did I do?" Wu Yen sneered. "All I did was control their behavior. Compared to you who controlled their minds, what I did was much worse. You, originally, before coming here, and even after coming here, I have been thinking about it. What method should I use to contact you without arousing your hostility?" When Meijo was about to say something, Wu Yen suddenly changed the topic and interrupted her. Meijo froze for a moment, as if she heard something funny, her face tensed up in disbelief. "Contact me? Stop joking. Let dirty men like you come in contact with me. I might as well just die." As expected. Hearing the words that tempted Knight Meijo, Wu Yen nodded without changing his expression. "That's why I've been very distressed, but now, thank you, what you did, I don't need to be distressed anymore." Hearing this, alluring Knight Meijo took a step back. In her heart, a bad premonition arose. She couldn't help but ask out loud. "You? What do you mean?" "The meaning is very simple." Wu Yen narrowed his eyes. "For the current you, I don't want to have peaceful contact with you anymore. Do you want to accept my lesson obediently, or do you want to struggle desperately, and then choose the way to negotiate? Choose for yourself." Meijo's face was angry. She was so angry that she laughed. "You're just a human. Do you think you've won?" "Sorry, I'm not a human," Wu Yen sneered. "The real human should be you, right?" When she heard Wu Yan's first sentence, Meijo was already stunned. When the latter sentence also fell into her ears, her expression completely changed. In the end, it turned into thick shock. "You know about me. Of course I know about you. Everything." Wu Yen waved his hand and interrupted Meijo's words again. "But I've also said that I have nothing more to say to you now. Who will say anything to you disgusting men?" Meijo's face was gloomy, and she shouted with some resentment. "Since you know so much, then take these secrets and die for me." Army Destroyer Singer, Rondo. As if she wanted to vent her resentment towards Wu Yen, Meijo stomped her foot fiercely. A circle of flashing ripples centered on Meijo's foot, and it kept fluctuating and swaying on the entire stage. In the next moment, a large number of silver cylinders emerged from the flashing ripples on the stage, as if they were protecting their master, and also as if they were surrounding their enemy. In an instant, the entire stage was filled with silver cylinders. It wasn't until they extended to a certain extent that those silver cylinders stopped. Then, like a microphone, the front end fell in the direction of Wu Yen. Only one of them was like a microphone aimed at Meijo's mouth. Meijo raised her body, took a deep breath, and faced the silver cylinder in front of her, and made a high voice that was enough to echo deep in the ear. "Ha!" The silver cylinder of Army Destroyer Singer continuously reflected Meijo's voice, and then it reverberated out from the silver cylinders aimed at Wu Yen. Like an invisible rope, it wrapped around Wu Yan's body. The sound waves that were invisible to the naked eye reverberated and shook the surroundings. Wu Yen only felt that his body seemed to be pressed down by something heavy from all directions, squeezing in the middle. Even his body became a little heavy, causing him to raise his eyebrows, and also causing Meijio to laugh happily. How is it? Isn't it amazing? My voice. Well, it is indeed amazing. Lowering his head and looking at his slightly bent fingers, Wu Yen also laughed. It's just that you made a mistake. Mistake? Meijio stared at Wu Yen with some displeasure, and said in a sharp voice. It's already a great blessing for a man like you to listen to my voice. If you still have to comment on my voice, it'll be the most serious pollution in the world. If you can, please shut your mouth and don't taint my voice. Don't worry, it won't tarnish your voice. Wu Yen chuckled. This is not your voice at all, how can it be tarnished? This sentence was like a sharp arrow that mercilessly pierced into Meijio's heart, causing her to feel a sharp pain. Her face couldn't help but turn pale, and even the smile on her face became a little forced. I don't understand what you're talking about. It's not that you don't understand, you just don't want to face it. Wu Yen glanced at Meijio and declared bluntly. Don't you know that the reason why you have the voice you have now is because of the power of the elves? So what? Meijio bit her lips, and her extremely beautiful face was slightly distorted. The power of the elves is also my power. But the voice is not your voice. Wu Yan's words directly hit Meijio's heart. In the end, your current voice is just a fake. Shut up. Meijio's heart was completely messed up, she panicked, and at the same time, she was angry. What do you know? I said I know everything. Wu Yen sighed and laughed self-deprecatingly when he saw Meijio's pale face contorting as she roared at him. Really, I already said that I have nothing to say to you, but in the end I still said so much, really, even I feel funny. Along with this sentence, a ferocious magical heat flow suddenly erupted, blowing away the sound waves that were pressuring from all directions and rushing toward Temptress Meijio without any explanation. Ah! Knight Temptress Meijio was shocked. She subconsciously raised her hand and blocked in front of her in an attempt to block the magic power impact that blew over. But when she thought that her body was about to be hit by a huge impact, the magic power heat flow that was rushing toward her suddenly disappeared without any warning. Before Knight Tempter Meijio could react, several purple magic circles rippled around the stage. Immediately after, a chain that was suffused with a faint purple light shot out and wrapped around Temptress Meijio's body. She was heavily tied up and hung off the ground. Chapter 11:23. With a series of clanking sounds, the stage that was filled with silver cylinders not long ago was immediately filled with chains that glowed with purple light. Temptress Meijio didn't even realize what happened. Her plump body was firmly bound, and she lost her sense of substance under her feet. By the time she reacted, she was already suspended in the air. In the blink of an eye, the situation reversed. What is this thing? Temptress Meijio couldn't help but struggle. Traces of spiritual power emerged from her body and supported her body, causing her extremely plump body to instantly possess strength that surpassed that of a human. Unfortunately, such strength, in front of the lock of discipline forged by the gods, only caused a crisp sound of collision. Let alone breaking it, it was impossible for her to break free. It's better to save some strength. Seeing Temptress Meijio constantly struggling, Wu Yen walked over the many silver cylinders on the ground and slowly walked in front of Temptress Meijio. He looked directly at her pair of bright silver eyes. With your strength, it's impossible to break free from the lock of discipline. Temptress Meijio's struggling figure stopped. Looking at Wu Yen standing in front of her, she couldn't help but feel a little scared. You? Who are you? Hearing Temptress Meijio's question, Wu Yen couldn't help but laugh. Don't you think it's too late to ask this question? Asking the identity of the person who came, no matter how you think about it, should be something you should do from the beginning? However, Temptress Meijio is different. From the beginning, when she saw Wu Yen, she didn't ask anything and directly attacked him without saying a word. It's not until now that she was restrained that she asked. It can be imagined that, if it was another man, after being attacked by Temptress Meijio, in less than 10 seconds, Temptress Meijio would forget about it. For Temptress Meijio, Wu Yan's only identity before this was a man. Other than that, there was nothing else. However, Temptress Meijio didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Looking at Wu Yan, who was less than a meter away from her, she reflexively struggled again. Just to get away from Wu Yan. His face was filled with panic and his eyes were filled with fear. He was deeply afraid that Wu Yan would do something to him. If she let the man she hated the most do something to her, then Xiao Meijia would really have the heart to short-circuit herself. Not to mention letting a man touch her, now. Smelling the unique masculine scent from Wu Yan, the seductive Meijio already wanted to vomit. Wu Yan frowned and sighed when he saw the deep hatred in Night Tempter Meijio's eyes. He also knew that Night Beauty Jiu didn't hate him, but she hated all men. However, it was Wu Yan's first time being hated by someone. Moreover, the target was a fairy that he had to establish a good relationship with in order to seal. No matter how he thought about it, this was an extremely troublesome matter. It seems like there's no need to talk to you for the time being. Wu Yan waved his hand and tapped the wireless earpiece in his ear. There's no other way, I can only let Kodori and the others talk to you. Come with me first. Come with you. Temptress Meijio was startled at first, then she violently struggled. Who wants to go with you? I'm already sick of breathing the same air as you. I will never go with you. Then I'm sorry. Wu Yan glanced at Temptress Meijio indifferently. My impression of you isn't much better. Although I'm not as extreme as you to the point where I can't breathe the same air as you, I won't be gentle with you either. Wu Yan raised his hand and a dense mana surged and condensed in his palm. A black magic formation expanded from Wu Yan's palm without any warning. In a moment, it was as wide as Wu Yan's shoulder. The mana swirling around it was like bees that saw honey. It turned into streams of air and merged into the black magic formation, causing it to tremble. Buzz, 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 buzz. A buzzing sound reverberated from the magic formation under the influence of mana. 4 pitch-black rings seemed to have been launched. Against the sound of breaking through the air, they soared into the sky with a trembling sound. They circled above the stage for a while and then shot towards Temptress Meijio's body. Amidst Temptress Meijio's cries of alarm, 4 pitch-black rings seemed to have lost their shackles and shackles. They wrapped around Meijio's limbs tightly and emitted a faint black light. Pring! Almost at the same time when the 4 rings were wrapped around her, the army breaker singer on the stage and the silver cylinders that covered the entire stage exploded and disappeared. Night Beauty Jiu also felt that the spiritual power in her body could no longer be mobilized. Aware of this, Night Beauty Jiu's pupils shrank and she screamed at Wu Yan. What did you do to me? Night Beauty Jiu's shouts suddenly disappeared. Wu Yan, who was ready to accept the baptism of Night Beauty Jiu's voice, was startled and looked at Night Beauty Jiu. With this look, Night Beauty Jiu's sluggish expression fell into his eyes. You? Ugh. In a daze, Temptress Meijio opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. However, just as she said a complete word, the rest of her words turned into a muffled whimper. Night Beauty Jiu's sluggish expression changed. It became full of panic and despair. Her voice had disappeared. Realizing this, Night Beauty Jiu seemed to have encountered the most terrifying thing in the world. Her whole body trembled and she kept opening her mouth, trying to make a sound. In the end, what she made was always an incomplete whimper. That was also natural. Seducing Xiao Meijio's voice was obtained by relying on the power of the elf, and the pitch-black rings wrapped around her limbs had already imprisoned her spiritual power. Naturally, the voice she obtained from the elf's power could no longer be emitted. Thinking of this, Wu Yan waved his hand and removed the lock of discipline. Night Beauty Jiu, who was free, had a sluggish face and directly lay on the ground. Then, she crawled toward Wu Yan with a panicked face. She did not care that the person in front of her was the man she hated the most and grabbed his clothes tightly. Give back to me. Night Beauty Jiu was like a drowning person, using Wu Yan's clothes as a life-saving straw. Even if her hands were trembling, she still did not intend to let go. Her face was full of despair, fear, and terror. She begged at the top of her voice. Give my voice back to me. Give back to me. Looking at Night Beauty Jiu, who was kneeling in front of him and clutching his clothes tightly, her eyes were full of despair and begging. Wu Yan was silent. Night Beauty Jiu was a person who had nothing other than singing. This was not belittling Night Beauty Jiu, but a fact. Whether it was in school or sports, Night Beauty Jiu's grades were at the bottom. She did not know how to cook or wash clothes. She did not even know how to take care of herself. Night Beauty Jiu was such an existence. The only thing that could be recognized by others and stand out was her singing. Therefore, for Night Beauty Jiu, singing was everything to her. It was also because of this only talent that Night Beauty Jiu successfully debuted as a singer at the age of 95 with the stage name Xiao Dai Yuno. Men accounted for 90% of her fans. Originally, her path in the entertainment industry was quite smooth. It was not until she rejected the unspoken deal of a TV producer that everything changed. Scandal. A fabricated scandal. This sudden scandal caused Temptress Mei Jiu's reputation to plummet. The change in the attitude of the fans made her very painful, causing her to be mentally and physically exhausted. In the end, she even got psychogenic aphasia and lost her voice. From the beginning, Night Beauty Jiu had nothing else to do besides singing. From the beginning, Night Beauty Jiu had nothing else to do except for her voice. After losing the ability to sing and her voice, Night Beauty Jiu no longer had any value. Therefore, for Night Beauty Jiu, her voice was even more important than her life. Once such an important thing was lost, one could imagine how desperate it would be. It was also because of this experience that Night Beauty Jiu, who turned into an elf, no longer trusted humans. Especially men, she hated them to the extreme. That was why she treated men as slaves. That was why she treated women as playthings. That was why she used the power of the elves to manipulate others and do whatever she wanted. In the end, Night Beauty Jiu was just a victim, a pitiful person. Chapter 11:24. If she lost her voice, she would lose her value. This point of view had long been deeply ingrained in her heart. In addition, she had already gone through such a painful experience and lost her voice again. The despair and fear in her heart were even greater than before. When she thought that she might be betrayed by humans again, her pretty face turned pale and lost all color. Please, give me back my voice. She wanted to say this sentence more than once, but she could not say it completely. She could only maintain her pale face and frightened eyes. She grabbed Wu Yan's clothes like a beggar, causing the entire stage to reverberate with intermittent, hoarse cries full of pleading and fear. Give me. Lowering his head, looking at the begging temptress in front of him, Wu Yan's anger toward her arrogance was involuntarily extinguished. All his emotions turned into a bitter smile. A pitiful person must have something hateful. Temptress Mei Jiu really fully demonstrated the authenticity of this point of view. Squatting down, Wu Yan made eye contact with Temptress Mei Jiu's frightened and pleading eyes. He did not have the mood to teach her a lesson. Even his tone could not help but soften. I don't have any malicious intentions towards you. I just came to find you because of some things. Hearing Wu Yan's words, Temptress Mei Jiu did not feel relieved. Her face was still full of panic and pleading. For Temptress Mei Jiu, Wu Yan's intention was not important. What was important was her voice. She only knew that the man in front of her had taken away her most important voice. The helpless Temptress Mei Jiu could only do her best to plead. She begged Wu Yan to return her voice because, other than her voice, she had nothing else. Give me back. Hearing the pleading of Temptress Mei Jiu, Wu Yan sighed and faced her. If you are willing to come with me, then I will remove the shackles on your body. I will return your voice to you, how about it? Hearing this, Temptress Meiji did not hesitate and did not resist like before. She nodded desperately, making Wu Yen feel pity for her. He couldn't help but reach out his hand. Wu Yen patted Night Tempter Meiji's head. As Night Tempter Meiji trembled and suppressed her fear, Wu Yen spoke gently. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you, and I won't take away your voice. You're not completely useless. Hearing this, Temptress Meiji was stunned for a moment. She suddenly raised her head and looked at Wu Yen. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as a storm raged in her heart. Apart from his voice, he was useless. If he lost his voice, he would no longer have any value. There was no more singing. No one will love me without any sound, no one would protect her without music, no one would believe in themselves. Shouldn't that be the case? However, what was this man talking about? What could he say to himself who had already lost his voice? Not completely useless? Is that so? She stared blankly at Wu Yen, who was touching her head. His face was no longer cold as before. Instead, he had a gentle smile on his face. Temptress Meiji was at a loss. Why did she have a voice? Why did he seem to dislike her when she could make everyone like her? But why? She who had lost her voice, who had lost her value. But why was he so gentle to her like this? Who exactly was this man? For the first time in her life, Temptress Meiji had the impulse to understand a man, Wu Yen, who did not know what was going on in Temptress Meiji's mind, looked at Temptress Meiji's dull look and thought that he had caused her to hate men again. He could only smile helplessly and retract his hand. But when he retracted his hand halfway, it was immediately grabbed tightly by a pair of soft and boneless hands. Wu Yen was stunned. Not to mention Wu Yen, even Temptress Meiji herself was stunned. In her heart, an extremely surprised emotion rose. She actually took the initiative to grab a man's hand? Although she thought so, Temptress Meiji did not let go of Wu Yan's hand. Instead, she held it tighter and tighter. In her beautiful big eyes, there was a timid expression constantly fluctuating. She behaved like a helpless child, which was both lovable and helpless. However, Temptress Meiji, who lost her voice and everything, was indeed helpless at this moment. Therefore, she subconsciously wanted to rely on Wu Yen, who said, "You are not completely useless," to her when she lost her value. Even if the other party was the man she hated the most. Wu Yen scratched his cheek. He did not know what Temptress Meiji was doing. He simply held her hand and stood up from the ground. "Captain?" At this moment, at the door, two voices accompanied by messy footsteps came from afar towards Wu Yen. When Wu Yen turned his head, Zhen Na and Yeyuechenyu entered his sight. Zhen Na and Yeyuechenyu jumped on the stage together and ran in front of Wu Yen. When they saw Temptress Meiji standing beside Wu Yen, they suddenly stopped and became vigilant. "Captain." Zhen Na looked straight at Temptress Meiji and asked Wu Yen without turning her head, "Are you okay?" Wu Yen smiled and shook his head. "I'm fine, but you two came at the right time." Looking around at Temptress Meiji's fans who were frozen by his words, Wu Yen pursed his lips. The audience here has seen how Knight Meiji was tempted to use the power of the elves. Use the display device that can erase memories to erase them. They, Zhen Na and Yeyuechenyu, noticed the audience, who were frozen on the spot. They were surprised. What happened to them? Well, they are temporarily frozen by me. They were controlled by Temptress Meiji before, but... Glancing at Temptress Meiji, who didn't know what to do, Wu Yen said to them, "Temptress Meiji's spirit power was sealed by me. They are awake now. What about her?" Zhen Na frowned and looked at Temptress Meiji again. Temptress Meiji couldn't help but shrink her body. Now, Temptress Meiji not only lost her voice, she also lost her fighting ability. Facing Zhen Na and Yeyuechenyu, who were on guard against her, she didn't dare to be as arrogant as before. She can hate someone because of a small matter, she can also fall in love with someone because of a small matter. Without her power, she won't be at a disadvantage. Temptress Meijo's values are very similar to a child's, it's extreme but also very cute. It should be fine here, Wu Yen said helplessly. I will bring Temptress Meiju back to Fraxinus, we will talk about the rest later. Got it. Zhen Na and Yeyuechenyu looked at each other and nodded. They started erasing the audience's memories. Wu Yen held Temptress Meijo's hand and walked towards the exit of the venue. At the same time, he restored Fraxinus's sound capturing system. Once he restored the system, a sharp scream pierced into Wu Yan's eardrums. Wu Yan almost got dizzy. Hey! Can you hear me? Oniai-chan. I can hear you. Wu Yan rubbed his ears with a bitter smile and complained. Don't shout so loud, my ears are about to burst. That kind of thing is fine. Kotori yelled rudely. What did you say to Seductress Meiju just now? Her favorability towards you skyrocketed. Huh? Wu Yan stopped in his tracks. Are you serious? Of course. Of course it's true. Kotori's voice was filled with confusion. It's only a little better than a normal person, it's far from favorability, but it's much better than before. How did you do it? Didn't Temptress Meijo hate men? I. Wu Yen tilted his head and he looked at the timid Temptress Meijo. He didn't know what to do with her. He even had a dangerous thought in his mind. Could it be that the seductive Meijo no longer saw him as a man? Chapter 11:25. In the sky above Tiangong City, Fraxinus. What do you want to explain? Spit it out now. Inside the command room, Kotori is sitting on the command desk with a stern expression. She's looking ahead with an unfriendly gaze. It's obvious that she's not in a good mood. Ahahaha. Wu Yen looked at Kotori's unfriendly expression and smiled awkwardly. He looked around at the members of Ratatosker who are staring at him with an unnatural expression. This made Kotori even angrier. Ratatosker's mission is to talk to the elves and solve the problem of the spacequake peacefully. That's what Ratatosker was founded for. Kotori pointed her lollipop at Wu Yen, and she scolded him without holding back. What are you doing? You're fighting with the fairies. What's the difference between you and AST? Wu Yen choked when he heard that and he started mumbling again. When I met Kwang-san, didn't I also fight with him? At that time, you were playing happily too. You said? Huh? What did you just say? Kotori narrowed her eyes, a sinister smile appeared on her face. She looked dangerous. I didn't hear you clearly, can you speak louder? I said. This was something that couldn't be helped, right? Wu Yen grumbled. Did you expect me to just stand there and let them beat me up like that? What? Does it matter? Kotori didn't realize how unreasonable her words were. She pretended to be absent-minded and said matter-of-factly. It's not like you can kill me. Hearing you say that really pisses me off. Wu Yen pursed his lips and his eyelids twitched. Do I have to take the beating just because I can't kill you? Fortunately, you were fast enough at that time and took down Night Temptress Meijo. Otherwise, with Night Temptress Meijo's mental state at that time, it was very likely that her spiritual power would become unstable. Kotori glanced at Wu Yen. At that time, thousands of people in the audience might die because of you. That should make you happy, right? Don't make it sound so serious. There's always a way, right? Wu Yan's smile is a bit forced. Isn't the end result good? Good. Kotori looked at Wu Yen with a half-smile. Thousands of people were manipulated, the concert venue was damaged to a certain extent, and we even had to wipe the memories of the people who died. Spacequake hasn't happened yet. Tell me, what's good about it? Why do I feel like you're picking on me? Wu Yen smiled bitterly. Didn't I successfully lure Xiao Meiju back? Kotori's expression changed. Kotori's expression eased up a bit. She tilted her head and looked at the girl who was grabbing Wu Yan's clothes. Standing behind Wu Yan, seductress Miko, who appeared to be a bit timid, raised an eyebrow. Is she really the seductress Meijio who attacked you and the audience at the concert without saying a word? Kotori turned to Wu Yan. Why do I feel like you're not as strong as you look on the screen? Instead, you look like you're being bullied. Did you do something you shouldn't have done to her? Am I that thirsty? Wu Yan resisted the urge to drag Kotori down from the podium and give her a good beating. He glanced at the nervous Miku and he sighed. This girl is also a person with a story. She is very reliant on the power of the current fairy. It's normal for her to behave like this when I suddenly imprisoned her spiritual power. Story? Kotori gave Yakumo Miku a deep look. Yakumo Miku had a pained look in her eyes when she heard Wu Yan's words. Kotori pursed her lips when she saw Wu Yan's expression. I won't ask about the story for now. The most important thing is to deal with Miko. Kotori looked at Wu Yan. How do you plan to seal her spiritual energy? Sealing her spiritual power. Wu Yan turned around to look at Meijio. Meijio shook her head frantically and her eyes were filled with pleading. Wu Yan bitterly chuckled at this. According to the current situation, it's impossible for Xiao Meijio to willingly seal her spiritual power. It's impossible to seal her spiritual power for the time being, that's true. Kotori had a headache. What do we do? Do we just leave it like this? Is there no other way? Well, I do have a lot of ways to seal spiritual energy. Wu Yan shrugged helplessly when he saw Meijio's pale face. But if I seal her spiritual energy without her consent, I'll be no different from AST as you said. Wu Yan looked up and met Kotori's eyes. Moreover, tempting Knight Meijio's reliance on the power of the sprites is too heavy. If I really forcefully seal her spiritual power, it is very likely that she will have thoughts of suicide in her heart. I can't do that, suicidal thoughts. Kotori's face turned serious. Is it that serious? Wu Yan shrugged. He handed the information about Miko and Yukino that Shina, Yatsuki and Yukino collected for him to Murasame Rain. Murasame Rain understood and handed it to Kotori. As Kotori flipped through the documents in her hand, her expression became more and more serious. The atmosphere in the command room became heavier and heavier. When Kotori put down the documents in her hand and revealed a helpless expression, everyone looked at each other in dismay. Mikoto seemed to have guessed what the document in Kotori's hand contained. She clenched her teeth and started whistling faster. To the temptress Meijio, her past was an extremely painful experience. Because she rejected the hidden rules of the deal, the ugly producer fabricated a scandal. Because of a scandal, she was betrayed by her fans who loved her so much, she lost her voice because of her disappointment in humans and despair. All of this to a young girl was too cruel. What's more, she was just a young girl who was good for nothing other than singing. To Meijio, the power of the elves was not so much a power as it was a means to support her survival. Under such circumstances, how could Knight Temptress Meijio give up her fairy power? The problem is, if a fairy's mood is unstable, her spiritual power will be unstable as well. She might cause a spacequake and bring disaster to this world. No one would be willing to let such a huge ticking time bomb run around. Didn't Kotori and the others choose to seal their spiritual energy? Sealing the spiritual energy of an elf who absolutely could not lose her elf power. Ratatosker was faced with such a contradictory problem. I didn't think things would get this troublesome. Kotori frowned and unconsciously bit the lollipop in her mouth. I only sealed her spiritual power, I didn't seal it. Miko still has her own spiritual power, she just can't use it. Wu Yan pointed at Miko's clothes. That's why Miko's spiritual power is still intact. I can't make up my mind. Can't we cure Miko's illness? Kotori asked Wu Yan. If we cure her psychogenic voice loss, the problem will be solved, right? Yes. You said it's psychogenic. Wu Yan shook his head. No one can cure her other than herself. Suddenly, everyone in the command room fell into a state of silence, including Temptress Meijio, who lowered her head. Her expression could not be seen. Looking at the distressed looks on everyone's face, Wu Yen patted his cheeks and pulled himself together. Let's put the matter of sealing Miko's spiritual power aside for now. Temptress Miko's eyes lit up. Wu Yen looked at Kotori. Kotori, can you give me some time? Yes. Kotori hesitated and nodded helplessly. Please, Oniai-chan. Chapter 11:26. The blue sky gradually faded and was replaced by a blood-red sunset, and dusk, colorful clouds were floating in the sky, and the sunlight from the setting sun shone down on the streets, reflecting the faces of the pedestrians. Although it was already dusk and night was about to fall, the streets were still full of pedestrians. They were either housewives who had just bought the ingredients for dinner or students who were walking towards the residential area with a bag in their hand. It was quite lively. However, the night has been faintly visible and the sky is gradually dimming. It is believed that soon, the people on the streets should be replaced by a group of night owls wandering in the night of Heavenly Palace City. It didn't take long for the pedestrians on the streets to become sparse. Similarly, it didn't take long for the eyes of the few pedestrians on the streets to be taken away by a man and a woman who were holding hands. To be more precise, it should be said that it was taken away by the woman who was holding hands. Her eyes were full of amazement, wearing a gorgeous dress of light. The yellow and white color of the dress emitted a faint light under the light of the setting sun. It was very dazzling. The long violet hair fluttered up and down with the owner walking up and down, giving the illusion that every strand of hair could be seen clearly. It was quite eye-catching. Of course, what was more eye-catching was the girl's beautiful face that was suffocating and the hot body that was so full that few people in the world could compare with her. Such a girl who had the appearance and the body. Even the clothes of the girl were so dazzling. How could the girl not be eye-catching? Some passing students even had their eyes wide open. Hearts almost jumped out of their eyes, including some female students. Fortunately, the true identity and appearance of the girl have never been made public. Otherwise, if people knew that the super-popular idol, Temptress Beautyjo, was in front of them and was holding hands with a strange man, then there would be a huge riot on the scene. And tomorrow, there should be a lot of paparazzi and news reporters to carry out a huge operation to dig up the male lead of the scandal, in fact. Not to mention others. Even Temptress Beautyjo herself was shocked by her current situation. Her bright silver eyes stared at her hand that was held by Wu Yen. Temptress Meijio's mood was very complicated. Obviously, she hated men the most. Just being close to a man would make her want to vomit, let alone being touched by a man. But it was this kind of him. Now. Instead, she let a man hold her hand. Yet, there were no signs of disgust. Was this really him? Her gaze still didn't leave the hands that were held together. Tempting Meijio was a little dazed. She also knew that she was very weak after losing her elven powers. He was so weak that he couldn't help but look for a human who had disappointed him to rely on. But was this kind of weakness enough to make her want to rely on the man she hated the most? No. That's not it. Because of psychological factors, because of those ugly men in the past, Xiao Meijio lost her voice, the voice that was more important than her life. That was why she hated men the most. He was so disgusted that he wanted to vomit just by looking at him. If possible, Xiao Meijio even wanted to use the elven power she obtained to kill all the men in the world. She hated men to such an extent. In addition to her previous betrayal, would Xiao Meijio still be helpless and rely on a man because of the loss of her power? The answer was of course no. And if this man was the man who took away the elven power that she regarded as her second life, then it would be even more impossible. But the truth was not like this. Temptress Meijio tried to think about why she wanted to rely on this man in front of her, because she wanted to ask him to return her voice? Perhaps this was part of the reason, but it was definitely not the whole reason. Temptress Meijio actually knew the reason, because she was curious about how this man hated her who had a voice, but treated her who had lost her voice gently, because of the throbbing of the man in front of her when she lost her voice, and said, "You're not nothing. But aren't all men lowly, dirty, and ugly creatures? Those men who used to line up, hold up signs and shout, 'I like you the most, I love you, I can die for you,' and so on, didn't they also betray her in the end?" Compared to her words, these people would rather believe those unknown scandals. What right did they have for her to trust them? What right did they have for her to rely on them? Humans are just creatures who only know how to say nice things, but their hearts are incomparably dark creatures. But this man seemed to have said that he wasn't human. Shoujo didn't know if he was persuading her or lying to her, but the confusion in her eyes didn't disappear. Instead, the confusion in her eyes grew stronger. Even Shoujo herself didn't know what she was feeling right now. She could only obediently let Wu Yan hold her hand and slowly walk forward until they arrived at a school marked Dragon Gut Temple Women's Academy. Stopping, Wu Yan turned around and looked at Shoujo. Shoujo immediately turned her head away so Wu Yan couldn't see her current expression. Wu Yan shrugged. He reached out and pointed at Shoujo's body. The black rings wrapped around Shoujo's limbs undulated and burst open. Shoujo could clearly feel that the spirit energy in her body that couldn't be used anymore was starting to become active again. It gathered towards her throat as usual, proving that her voice has recovered. But Shoujo didn't feel happy at all when she felt her spirit energy recovering. She lowered her head and remained silent. "That's all I have to say." Wu Yan clapped his hand. He glanced at Temptress Mikoto and he grinned. "Remember to control yourself. Don't let the spacequake happen. Otherwise, even if Ratatosker doesn't seal your spirit energy, it won't be able to watch you run around." Hearing this, the Temptress Meiju finally raised her head. Looking at the man in front of her who she used to hate so much, her intoxicating sweet voice echoed, "Why?" Tempting Knight Meiju asked this question with an unknown emotion. "That Ratatosker seems to want to seal my spirit energy, right? You also have a way to seal my spirit energy, right? Why didn't you seal my spirit energy in the end and let me go instead? Do you need a reason?" Wu Yan raised an eyebrow. He looked at Temptress Meiju with an odd look. "If you have a conscience, no matter who it is, after hearing about your deeds, they wouldn't want to seal your spirit energy, right? Have a conscience." Shoujo couldn't help but laugh. "Humans are just a group of hypocrites. How can they have a conscience?" Shoujo's eyes dimmed. Shoujo's beautiful voice was full of depression. "If I really have a conscience, then I wouldn't have become like that." Hearing this, Wu Yan closed his eyes. "Don't tell me you think that all humans are like the producer who slandered you and the fans who talk to themselves? Isn't that so?" Shoujo raised her head hard. Her eyes full of sadness and pain were exposed to Wu Yan's vision. "So many people said, 'I will always support you and I will always believe in you,' but in the end, when I really needed someone to support me, who supported me and who believed in me? No. Not a single one." Shoujo's expression was distorted by pain. "There are so many people, but no one believed in me. Isn't that enough to explain everything? Is that so?" Wu Yan nodded slowly. Then he looked around and picked up a piece of paper from the ground. His fingers spurted out magical power and wrote something on the paper. Then, he stuffed it into Shoujo's hand. "This." Shoujo looked at the paper in her hand and was slightly startled. "Phone number? This is my phone number." Wu Yan smiled and nodded. "If one day you need someone to support you, if one day you need someone to believe in you, if one day you lose your spiritual power again, if one day you want to sing again, then call this phone number. When the time comes, no matter where it is, I will definitely rush over. You." Shoujo's hand holding the paper trembled violently. Then, she laughed out loud. "What's the point of doing this? Do you think I will believe you? Instead of waiting for someone to believe in you and wait for someone to support you, It's better to act on your own and find someone who is worthy of your trust. Wu Yan stared at Xiao Meizhou's eyes. Although I don't know if I am worthy of your trust and whether I can gain your trust, I admit that I will not ignore a cute girl's request for help. Turning around, Wu Yan waved his hand and said with a smile, "If possible, I hope that one day when you want to sing with your own voice, you can call this phone number. Compared to that fake voice, to be honest, I would like to hear your own voice." Leaving those words behind, Wu Yan turned around and walked away without looking back. Xiao Meizhou kept looking at Wu Yan's back until he disappeared from her sight, then she lowered her head. Who would believe the words of men like you? When he said this, Xiao Meizhou's hand was already tightly clutching the paper. Chapter 11:27. As expected of my brother. Koteri's cheerful voice came from the other side of the earpiece. Wu Yan, who is heading home, found it a bit strange. "It's not the first time I heard you say that, but why are you praising me all of a sudden?" "Ha!" Koteri was surprised to hear Wu Yan's words. "Isn't it obvious? It's because of your strategy on seduction, Meizhou." "Strategy on seduction, Meizhou?" Wu Yan blinked. He asked in confusion. "What strategy? When did I try to seduce Xiao Meizhou?" As soon as he said this, the music in the earpiece immediately stopped. It was a long time before it started again. "As expected of my brother." "What are you talking about?" Wu Yan shook his head, not sure whether to laugh or cry. "I don't know what's going on." "Isn't it praiseworthy for you to start a strategy without knowing what's going on?" Koteri said with a half-smile. "Started a strategy without knowing what's going on?" Wu Yan scratched his cheek. "Are you talking about me leaving my phone number with seduction, Meizhou?" "Yes. That's it," Koteri said with certainty. "Let me tell you. Because of what you did, seduction Meizhou's favorability towards you has increased by more than half." "More than half?" Wu Yan paused for a bit before he started getting curious. "What's more than half favorability?" Koteri muttered something in deep thought before she spoke. "It's probably someone you care about." "What the hell?" Wu Yan pursed his lips in disdain. "Only to the extent that I care about people. I thought you admired me so much because of how much progress I have made. Have you forgotten what kind of fairy seduction Meizhou is?" Koteri scoffed. "She's an existence that hates men and is extremely disappointed in all humans. Based on our current information, there's almost no one who can attract Yukio Meiyou's attention. You're the first." Wu Yan smirked. He puffed out his chest. "That is indeed something to be admired." "Don't get too cocky." Koteri poured cold water on him. "If it's only at this level, there's no way to tempt Xiao Meizhou to willingly seal her spiritual power." "Ugh. You're right." Wu Yan rubbed his nose and sighed. "But is it really possible to seduce Meizhou into sealing her powers willingly?" "Well, it's up to you," Koteri said in a low voice. "The only way now is to get Meizhou out of her disappointment in humans and the world and cure her voice loss. This method is feasible." "That's easy for you to say." Wu Yan tapped on his headset. "If you were in Meizhou's shoes, would you forgive her? Would you forgive those who betrayed you so easily?" "Well, so, it depends on what you do." Koteri snickered and teased. "Since you can change Temptress Meizhou's opinion of you, then add fuel to the fire and take her down completely. You can do whatever you want, right?" "Well, you're making me feel like I'm doing something evil." Wu Yan's mouth twitched. "I just want to seal Meizhou's powers." "Seduce her as well." Koteri laughed eerily. "Don't tell me you don't have such thoughts about seducing Meizhou. I'll really despise you." "Ha ha." Wu Yan laughed dryly and his face fell. "All right, I admit that it's a little." Koteri's decisive voice suddenly sounded in his earpiece. "I despise you." Wu Yan almost tripped and fell to the ground. Then, they looked like siblings, but they were actually lovers. Through the headset, they started a pointless war of words. They only stopped when Wu Yen arrived at Itsuka's house. Wu Yen pushed the door open and walked into the house. He shouted, "I'm back," as he walked towards the living room. Originally, Wu Yen wanted to go back to his room, but when he saw the corner of the hall, he stopped in his tracks and walked into the hall with a puzzled look on his face. In the living room, Kurumi, Toka, Yoshino, and Shiori were sitting around the table. They looked excited. On the table, there were several boxes that looked like they were sent by mail. Under the actions of 4 young girls of different sizes, they were taken apart one by one. Wu Yen walked over with a strange expression. "What are you doing?" Kurumi, Toka, Yoshino, and Shiori stopped what they were doing and smiled at Wu Yen. "You're back?" "Yeah." Wu Yen nodded. He sat between Kurumi and Toka and looked at the items in the boxes. He was stunned. "This is..." Wu Yen took out the item from the box and laid it out in front of him. He was a bit surprised by what he saw. "Kimono?" "Kimono?" Kotori's confused voice came from the headset. "Why is there a kimono?" "Why is there a kimono?" Wu Yen repeated Kotori's words to Shiori. Shiori giggled in response. "These kimonos are for the Chinese Valentine's Day festival in a few days." "Chinese Valentine's Day festival?" Wu Yen ignored Kotori's voice and looked at Shiori. "The festival will be held in a few days?" "It's July 7th in a few days. Chinese Valentine's Day, isn't it?" Shiori rolled her eyes at Wu Yen. She didn't like the fact that he forgot about such an important date like the Qixi festival. The Chinese Valentine's Day festival is held annually. Everyone in Heavenly Palace City knows about it. Shoujo, haven't you attended it before? "Yeah. I've never participated in this," Wu Yen admitted without hesitation. "After all, I didn't live in Heavenly Palace City before." "I haven't either." Toka picked up a kimono and said excitedly, "Shiori said there will be a lot of delicious food at the festival." "Shoujo." Toka turned around and looked at Wu Yen. She was holding a kimono, but she was drooling. "Let's go. Chinese Valentine's Day Festival." "I want to go too." Yoshino raised her hand with a blush on her face. Her beautiful eyes were full of anticipation. "I want to see fireworks." "Both of you want to go?" Wu Yen thought for a moment and looked at Kurumi, who was smiling. "Kurumi, do you want to go?" "Era, isn't it good?" Kurumi tilted her head and touched her lips with a finger. She smiled. "Chinese Valentine's Day is a day that lovers can't miss. I want to go to the festival with hubby-sama." "I see." Wu Yen nodded. "All right then, let's go together." Hearing this, Kurumi, Shixiang, and Shiori all laughed out loud. Shiori was the only one who was about to laugh when the phone in her pocket rang in the hall. "Sorry." Shiori looked at everyone apologetically and picked up the phone. Who is this?" After Shiori's voice fell, the phone was silent. After an unknown amount of time, a cold and emotionless voice came out from the other side. "It's me." Shiori was stunned for a moment and exclaimed, "Origami!" The entire hall fell into silence. Everyone's gaze fell on Shiori, making her feel even more pressured. She wiped the sweat on her forehead and forced a smile. What's the matter?" "Origami. Chinese Valentine's Day Festival." Toka Origami used her usual straightforward and emotionless voice and said to Shiori, "I want to invite you to go with me." "Wah." Shiori immediately remembered the last time she went shopping with Origami. A wave of dizziness suddenly enveloped her. Before Shiori could refuse, Origami spoke again. "I'll let you know when the time is set." Origami hung up the phone as if she didn't want to give Shiori a chance to regret her decision. Hearing the busy tone from the phone, Shiori lowered her hand like a corpse and looked at Wu Yen and Ko for help. "Ahem." Wu Yen coughed and stood up. "Since Shiori has an appointment, we'll go by ourselves." "Yes." Kurumi, Toka, and Yoshino stood up and followed Wu Yen out of the hall. At the scene, only Shoujo, who seemed to have lost her soul, remained in a daze for a long time. Chapter 11:28. Heavenly Palace City, Itsuka's house. Ah, I'm full. With a look of infinite satisfaction on her face, 10 incense lay on the table and twisted her body in a happy manner. Oh, Shido's cooking is still so good. Yoshino rubbed Yoshino's small head and nodded in satisfaction. Although Yoshino was still a little timid, he was much better than before. At the very least, Yoshino could easily express his emotions with his actions like now. Although I think so too, Shiori sighed as she rubbed her stomach. But losing to a boy in cooking, it's a bit complicated. Shiori-san, not everyone can eat House-sama's cooking. Kurumi held a cup of black tea and drank elegantly. House-sama is very lazy. Don't you think it's tempting that he's willing to take the time to cook for us? Hearing Kurumi's words, Shiori's little face immediately turned red. Obviously, Kurumi had hit the nail on the head. Shiori's expression was stiff. She looked at Shiori, who was lying on the side with a happy face, and then looked at Kurumi, who was elegantly drinking tea. She didn't know why, but she looked at Shiori as if she hated iron for not becoming steel. As for Kotori, she wanted to say something but she gave up when she remembered she had to pretend to be a good girl in front of Shiori. Alright, since you're all full, let's go find something to do. Wu Yen shook his head in exasperation and chased the girls away from the table. Clean up the tableware, get ready to bathe. Yes, Toka, Yoshino, and Kotori leisurely dragged their words and walked out of the hall with Kurumi's light laughter. Only Shiori was left behind. Let me help you, Shido. That would be great. This is a wolf who slacks off whenever he can. Wait, everyone. Kurumi stopped Kotori, Yoshino, and Toka, who were about to return to their rooms. He licked his lips and a mysterious smile hung on his face. There's something I need to discuss with everyone. Hearing this, the 3 girls stopped and looked at Kwang-san in confusion. Discuss? Kotori was surprised. You actually took the initiative to discuss something with us? That's strange. What's the matter? Kurumi. Toka stepped forward enthusiastically. If there's anything you need help with, I'll be sure to help. Me too. Yoshino nodded weakly. If possible, I'll be sure to help. I really have to thank everyone for this. Kwang-san's eyes curved into beautiful crescents as she smiled. But it's not that I need your help with anything, there's just something I need to decide in advance. Kurumi looked around at the 3 girls who were full of doubt, then casually opened her mouth to speak. The arrangements for tomorrow's Chishi festival. The Chishi festival. Kotori and the other 2 repeated the story in unison, and the confusion on their faces only increased instead of lessening. Don't you 3 have any ideas? Kurumi's eyes widened a little as if she had seen something unbelievable. Then, he laughed out loud again. Chishi is a festival for lovers. Don't you want to monopolize Owen-sama and spend a beautiful night with Owen-sama? The air at the scene suddenly froze. Monopolize Shido. Toka started to think. Spend time with Owen-sama. Kotori's eyes were filled with hesitation. We had a wonderful night. Yoshino's face turned completely red. Seeing Kotori's reaction, Kurumi's delicate face revealed a triumphant smile. It's Chishi after all, we're usually together and we'll always be together in the future. Today is special. I also want to be alone with my lord husband and spend the Chinese Valentine's Day together. Kwang-san pointed at her face with her finger. So, let's discuss who will monopolize Owen-sama tomorrow. Shurdao has already agreed to accompany me to buy octopus yaki. 10 incense immediately declared arrogantly. Is that so? Kurumi's smile didn't change as she replied to Toka. Then Owen-sama will be monopolized after we buy octopus yaki, right? Toka choked. Big Brother is not very familiar with the roads in Heavenly Palace City. Kotori explained with an unnatural expression. I have to show Owen-sama the way. Kodori-chan, don't worry. Kurumi's smile didn't change. I've lived in Heavenly Palace City for a long time, I'm familiar with the roads. Kodori choked. Aye. Yoshino's face turned redder and redder. She became redder and redder. In the end, she simply pulled her hat over her head and didn't even say a word. Yoshino gave up. Kodori narrowed her eyes and looked at Kurumi when she saw Toka and Yoshino being knocked down by Kurumi. Do you want to monopolize that guy? I do want to monopolize Owen-sama. Kurumi smiled wickedly. Kodori was about to retort, but she changed the topic. But that's a bit overbearing, I don't want Owen-sama to be unhappy. Speaking up to here, Kurumi finally revealed her purpose. How about we have a showdown here? A showdown? Toka paused. Then, he clenched his fist with high fighting spirit. Fine. I will not admit defeat. Wait, how are we going to do that? Kodori frowned. Let's be clear, it's not a good idea to use fairy power in this world. Even if we control our Reiki and don't cause a spacetime quake, AST will send out their psychic wave. Plus, Owen-sama doesn't want us to fight. Kodori calmly analyzed and glanced at Kurumi. So, you have to think about it. Don't worry, I won't mess around in a way that Lord Husband doesn't like. Kwang-san smiled unhurriedly. Then, she lowered her head and pondered. Alright, stop putting on an act. Kodori pursed her lips and waved her hand as if she was tired of it. Since you're the one who suggested it, you must have a plan already, right? Just say it. As expected of Lord Husband's younger sister. Then, I'll be frank. Kurong-san had a coquettish smile on her face as she playfully blinked her right eye that was exposed. The showdown is simple. Whoever seduces Owen-sama will get to spend 3 hours alone with Owen-sama during the Chishi festival. What do you think? How about seduce? Kodori and the other two exchanged glances. Their reactions were different from each other. Kodori was disdainful. Is this your first time meeting Owen-sama? Kodori mocked, her words were merciless. As long as it's a cute girl, she can seduce him with just a flick of her finger. He'll pounce on her like he's in heat. There's no need for a showdown like this. Kodori-chan, are you worried I'll play tricks on you? The corners of Kwang-san's mouth slowly rose. If that's what Kodori-chan is worried about, I can let you go first. Kodori opened her mouth but nothing came out. She snorted and turned her head away. I won't take advantage of you. We'll decide the order by rock, paper, scissors. Toka was confused. Nana. Toka looked at Kodori and Kurumi and asked, what seduction? Kodori's expression froze. Kurumi's smile disappeared and she sighed. It's something that makes Owen-sama think he can do whatever he wants. So that's how it is. 10 Fragrance suddenly realized something and pounded her palm. For a moment, all the girls present helplessly shrugged their shoulders. They all felt helpless towards 10 Fragrance's natural ability. Yoshino didn't know what to do. I have to join too? She looked like she was about to cry. She shook her head anxiously. But don't worry. At this time, Yoshino, who was in Yoshino's hands, giggled. Yoshino, I'll be your backup. Let's go take down Wu Yen-kun. Yoshino. Yoshino sighed in relief. She looked at Yoshino gratefully. Seeing this, Kwang-san laughed. Then it's decided. Chapter 11:29. Phew. While washing the dishes, Wu Yan's pupils started to dilate. In this state, Wu Yan sighed, cooking is a different matter. Washing the dishes and whatnot is really boring. Shoujo, you're just trying to slack off. Shiori rolled her eyes at Wu Yan while washing the dishes. Shoujo, you're supposed to be washing dishes today. Seeing how good your cooking is, I came to help you. If you keep complaining, I'm going to leave. Yes. Wu Yan stretched his arms and legs and continued to wash the dishes. Shoujo. At the entrance of the hall, Toka opened the door with a bang. She rushed towards Wu Yen with an imposing manner, scaring Wu Yen and Shiori so much that they almost dropped the plates in their hands. Before the two of them could react, 10 Fragrance, who had stormed into the kitchen, said something that made the atmosphere drop to a freezing point. Today, you can do whatever you want to me. Do whatever you want. Wu Yen and Shiori managed to stabilize the plates with great difficulty, but the plates fell to the ground with a crisp sound. The two didn't even look at the broken plates as their expressions kept changing. In the end, they entered a state of complete shock with their mouths agape gulp. Wu Yen subconsciously glanced at Toka's voluptuous body, and he recalled what she said. He couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Then, she felt a cold and disdainful gaze shooting straight at her body. Shoujo. Shirji squinted her eyes and suddenly laughed. Her laughter made people's hair stand on end. Don't tell me you taught Toka something she doesn't need? No. No. Wu Yen shook his head like a broken drum. A drop of sweat dripped down his forehead. I taught her everything. I didn't do anything. Is that so? Shirji looked at Wu Yen suspiciously. After a while, she turned to Toka and smiled gently. Toka, you can't do that. Even if you're boyfriend and girlfriend. But if you say that, Shoujo will do something that angers both humans and gods. So, don't say that again. Hearing Shiori's words, Toka immediately cried out in dissatisfaction. But Shoujo and I. Okay. 10 spice sauce. Shiori had a kind smile on her face. He put his hand on 10 Fragrance's shoulder with an unquestionable aura. She pushed her out of the kitchen. I know you want to get closer to Shoujo, but impure things are forbidden. I won't let Shoujo pollute the rare spiritual oasis in our house. But, Shiori pushed Toka out of the kitchen as she continued to call out to her. When she came back, she looked at Wu Yen with a dangerous gaze. If you dare to do anything impure to Toka, you'll be judged by the Itsuka family. Wu Yen, who still hasn't recovered from his stupor, nodded like an idiot. Wu. Toka sobbed and returned to Kotori, Kurumi, and Yoshino's side with a dejected look. Failed. Saying this unwillingly, Juxiang fiercely glared at Kwang-san. Damn you, Kurumi! Didn't you say that letting Shoujo do whatever he wanted was a temptation? Why can't I do it? Are you lying to me? Kurumi was speechless. She rubbed her forehead like she had a headache. I was careless. I forgot Toka's personality isn't suitable for temptation. In short, Toka failed. Kotori smiled and stopped Toka, who was about to vent. She raised her voice as if she wasn't going to give Toka a chance to speak. Who's next? Why, yes, it's me. Yono raised his hand in fear. Kotori and Kurumi smiled at him in return. But their smiles are fake. They don't think Yoshino will succeed. Do your best. Kurumi and Kotori both said this to Yonai. Yonai's shoulders trembled and he looked away. Yonai didn't know if it was out of kindness or if it was because they were taking pleasure in his misfortune. Don't worry, Yoshino. Yoshino used her unique sharp voice to cheer Yoshino up with a dance. Yoshino will help you. Yoshino is here. Everything will be fine. Hearing Shino comforting him as usual, Shino immediately mustered up a bit of courage, nodded his little head and walked into the main hall. Shoujo, did you really not instill any strange thoughts into Toka's head? In the kitchen, Shiori abandoned her task of washing the dishes and cornered a sweaty Wu Yen in a corner with an unfriendly look on her face. That's obviously different from the usual Toka, right? Shoujo, Toka is very innocent, you can't teach her bad things. It really has nothing to do with me. Wu Yen was about to cry. I've been washing the dishes with you all this time. When 10 Fragrances suddenly ran over and said this, I was also shocked. Really? Shiori still didn't believe Wu Yan's words. She stared at Wu Yan's eyes in an attempt to see if there's anything there. Of course, she didn't find anything, so she sighed helplessly. Forget it, let's just leave it at that for now. Shiori lowered her head and muttered. Seriously, I'll have to go look for 10 spice sauce later and correct her thinking. Ahaha. Wu Yen laughed dryly. The door to the hall was opened again. A shy little face appeared outside the door. There was a slight blush on her cheeks. She was so cute. Sorry for disturbing you. Wu Yen and Shiori, who were about to continue washing the dishes, turned around. They saw a blushing Yono peeking her head out from behind the door. The two of them flinched for a bit. Shiori's eyes lit up with love while Wu Yen felt a bit dazed by this scene. Toka. Toka? Wu Yen rubbed the plate in his hand and laughed awkwardly. Finally, he was released from the effects of Mo Kill. Haven't you taken a bath yet? It's time to take a bath. I. Toka's cheeks were dyed red. She lowered her head and slowly walked out of the door. Seeing Toka's strange expression, Wu Yen put down the cutlery in his hand and squatted down in front of Toka. What's wrong? Looking at Wu Yan's smiling face so close to hers, Yoshino stood there in a daze. She blushed and couldn't say a word. You're so annoying, Shoujo-kun. Seeing the bad situation, Toka covered her mouth with her small hand and laughed. Didn't you just say it's time to take a bath? Yes. Wu Yen looked at Toka strangely. Is there a problem? I came to see you when you're taking a bath. Is there anything else? Toka waved her hand happily. Of course, I'm here to invite you to take a bath together. Wu Yen was stunned. He raised his head and looked at Toka's face. What he saw was steam coming out of Toka's head. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's it. Okay, wait for me. No need. A voice that seemed to have reached the limit of patience interrupted Wu Yan's words. Then, Toka found her body floating in the air. Woo-woo. Shoujo rubbed her face with a cute expression as she cried out happily. Let me accompany Toka to take a bath. Toka was surprised. She didn't know what to do with this development. Shiori thought that Toka acquiesced. She excitedly hugged Toka and waved her hand at Wu Yen. That's it, Shoujo-kun. You have to wash the dishes yourself. I'm going to take a bath with the cute Toka. After saying that, Shiori brought Toka, who was crying out in panic, to the bathroom. Because Toka was crying out in alarm, Toka couldn't speak. Otherwise, Shiori would see through her excuse of using ventriloquism instead of mouth to talk. Shiori would definitely faint if she knew that a doll could talk. Left with no choice, Toka could only pretend to be a doll and watch as Toka was dragged into the bathroom together with Toka. Wu Yan's lips twitched as he watched Shiori disappear from his sight with the 4 familiars in her arms. He scratched his head in confusion. Why does it feel weird? Chapter 1130. See Sister Shiori. What's wrong? Yoshino. Can you please put me down? Is Yoshino shy? And no, it's not like that. Wow. She's blushing. She's so cute. You. Shiori's adrenaline seemed to have been stimulated as she walked into the bathroom with Yoshino in her arms. Kodori, Kurumi, and Toka poked their heads out and looked at each other. Kurumi shrugged. Yoshino is out too. In a way, Sister is a powerful enemy. Kodori smiled bitterly, but she regained her composure. Luckily, Sister is being held back by Yoshino. She helped us solve a big problem. Well, we'll remember Yoshino. Kurumi patted the dust off her knees and stood up. Next. It's my turn. Kodori stood up with a radiant look on her face. She reached for the ribbon on her hair, as if she had been prepared for this. Seducing that guy is a piece of cake. Why does it feel so weird? After washing the rest of the utensils, he frowned as he filtered them with clean water. Although 10 Fragrances was usually a laughingstock due to its high natural attributes, 10 Fragrances had always been a laughingstock. Occasionally, in order to overcome their temperament, they would deliberately do some bold things. However, compared to their usual behavior, the two of them seemed to be a little more uncoordinated. It's like they're doing it on purpose. What's going on? Is this Koteri's idea again? While Wu Yen was deep in thought, the sound of the door opening echoed in the living room. It attracted Wu Yan's attention. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the main hall, jumping and skipping. Wu Yen saw a happy Koteri. He was stunned and astonished. Koteri? Koteri didn't notice Wu Yen until now. She turned around and her eyes lit up when she saw Wu Yen. Then, she's extremely cute. An innocent and romantic smile appeared on Koteri's face. Oniai-chan noticed. When he heard Koteri's innocent and sweet voice, for a moment, Wu Yen thought Koteri had a screw loose in her head or she's trying to play a prank on him. He soon found out the reason. The ribbon on Qinli's hair had turned from black to white. In other words, the current Koteri was the sweet and cute Koteri in her younger sister mode. Wu Yen looked at Koteri with curiosity. How long has it been since he last saw Koteri in sister mode? Ever since his relationship with Koteri became ambiguous, Koteri in sister mode hasn't appeared in front of him. Seeing Koteri in her younger sister mode, Wu Yen couldn't help but look at her a few more times. Koteri looked at him suspiciously. What's wrong? Oniai-chan. Wu Yan's legs turned to jelly when she called him Oniai-chan. He turned his head away awkwardly and pretended to cough. Wu Yen said to Koteri. And nothing. I just wanted to ask you, do you think Toka and Yoshino are acting weird? Weird? Koteri tilted her head cutely, her big round eyes sparkled like a squirrel's. Is that so? I didn't notice anything. I see. Wu Yen scratched his face and sighed. Forget it, I have nothing to lose so I won't pursue the matter. Oniai-chan, are you upset that Yoshino was taken away by your sister? Koteri blinked her eyes and blushed. She started fidgeting with her hands. In that case, I don't mind bathing with Oniai-chan. Wu Yen turned around abruptly. He looked at Koteri, who was bashful and blushing. His heart started beating faster. Bathing with sister mode Koteri? That's fine. Wu Yan's heart started to heat up as he looked at Koteri. Koteri made a victory sign in her heart and blushed shyly. Do I really have to bathe with Oniai-chan? I'm so shy. Just as Wu Yen was about to nod in agreement, he remembered something. But didn't Shiori bathe with Yoshino? Koteri's expression stiffened. She cried out in her heart that she had miscalculated, but soon after, she laughed again. It's okay, we can wait until your sister is done bathing. Wu Yen smiled. In that case. Halfway through his sentence, Wu Yen paused. Something doesn't seem right. Is it possible for Koteri to invite me to take a bath together? Even if it was the naive and romantic little sister mode, let alone inviting him to take a bath, she would probably blush and scream out loud after being kissed by him. Something is wrong. Could it be that Koteri is trying to trick me again for the sake of training the elves? Wu Yan's fervent gaze turned into vigilance. He put on a friendly face and he told Koteri. Okay, let's do this. Well, I really want to bathe with you, but I'll pass today. It's Koteri's turn to be shocked. She was rejected. She was rejected by the Oniai-chan who used to push her down whenever they were alone. How is this possible? Why? Koteri asked. She looked up at Wu Yen with a pitiful expression. Oniai-chan, do you hate bathing with Koteri? Wu Yan's heart wavered when he saw Koteri on the verge of tears. However, he was more certain. There's no way Koteri would pretend to be in sister mode, just to bathe with him. There must be something going on. How could I hate Koteri? Wu Yen rubbed Koteri's head and he continued in a serious tone. But Oniai-chan has something to do today, Koteri, let's wait until next time. Next time? Koteri shouted anxiously. It'll be too late next time. Wu Yen raised an eyebrow and a bright smile appeared on his face. Koteri covered her mouth when she realized what she just said. He didn't know what coterie is plotting, but he is sure that there is something fishy going on here. Wu Yan refused even more firmly. Anyway, thank you for your invitation. Next time, Big Brother will accompany you to take a bath. Wu Yan rubbed Coterie's head. He didn't want to give Coterie a chance to regret her decision. He walked out of the kitchen and into the living room before heading back to his room. Wait! Coterie shouted and chased after him. Wait! Oniai-chan! Era, Coterie-chan, you can't do this! Coterie had only taken a few steps when Kurumi appeared behind her and pulled her back. Coterie saw the smile on Kurumi's face. You're out of the game. Ugh! Coterie's expression changed and she collapsed on the floor as if she lost all her strength. How can this be? That's a perverted Oniai-chan. It's my turn now. Kurumi looked down at Coterie and tilted her head with a smile. Oniai-chan will be mine tomorrow during the Chishi festival. It's not like that. Coterie jumped up from the ground and puffed up her cheek. You might fail too. If you fail, Oniai-chan will have to share with everyone. Era, thanks for your concern. Kurumi grinned. She turned around and walked towards Wu Yan's room. Sigh. What a pity. Lying on his bed, Wu Yan sighed in grief. It would be great if I could do it with Coterie in her sister mode. Era, Oniai-chan, you don't have to worry. Suddenly, a familiar voice and tone came from the room. Wu Yan reflexively looked at the source of the voice, and what he saw made him flabbergasted. Kurumi, who is completely naked, walked up to Wu Yan with a blush on her cheek. She maintained a graceful smile as she walked in front of Wu Yan. She reached out and caressed Wu Yan's chest with a seductive smile. Do you need me to comfort you? The fire in Wu Yan's heart finally exploded. In the hallway, Coterie and Toka looked at each other when they heard the moaning and panting coming from Wu Yan's room. They lowered their heads in dejection. Chapter 1131. The main street of Tiangong City, the commercial street. This was a commercial street that was more lively and bustling than before. No, it should be a very lively commercial street. Today is the 7th of July, the annual Chinese Valentine's Day festival. Although the sky had just turned dark, the merchants who had smelled the scent of money would not let go of such a typical day. In order to cater to this wonderful business opportunity, they ruthlessly made a large sum of money. As soon as the sky turned dark, many people had already set off bursts of excitement on the commercial street. There are open-air shops and stalls on both sides of the street, preparing to welcome the arrival of customers. Not only do these shops and stalls specialize in octopus, fried noodles, and other indispensable snacks during the festival, masks, balloons, and other products are also displayed in a dazzling array. They are just waiting for customers to come and buy them all. It didn't take long for consumers to arrive one after another. The entire shopping street was packed to the brim. Some of the smaller people and children were mixed in the crowd. Not even their shadows could be seen. The people who are excited by the festival are shopping everywhere. They visit the stalls one by one. The prices of the products here are obviously the same as usual, some of them are even higher than usual. However, due to the festive atmosphere, people still go up and visit the stalls. After all, the festival only happens once a year, right? The couples, in particular, snuggled up to each other. Not only did they look intimate, but they were also more invested in the festival than others. They rarely thought about spending money, which made the shop owners very happy. Of course, the men who are responsible for paying the bill for their girlfriends are bleeding in their hearts. In any case, today is the Chinese Valentine's Day festival. It's bound to be lively. Wow, looking at the crowded commercial street, Shi Xiang is surprised. This is the first time Toka saw something like this. She couldn't help but gasp in surprise. She grabbed Wu Yan's hand in excitement. Shi Dao. Look. There are so many people. There are indeed a lot of people. Even Wu Yan is a little dazed. It's not that Wu Yen hasn't seen more people than this before, but it's a different story when they are all crowded in the same commercial street. Even the festival on Itagami Island in the Blood Frenzy world. Nor was there as many people as the Chishi festival. In addition, there were girls in all kinds of kimonos walking around in the crowd. It almost dazzled Wu Yan's eyes. Just a casual mention. The girls were also wearing kimonos. Kotori's kimono was pink, Kurumi's was black, and Toka's was purple. Sei was blue, and Shoujo was white with spots. Apart from Kotori, the other four also used hairpins to tie up their long hair. Together with their exquisite and beautiful faces, they were breathtakingly beautiful. Now that the sky has just turned dark, there aren't many people. Shirori chuckled softly and said to Shirori and Shirori, whose eyes were filled with light, when it's close to the fireworks there will be a lot of people. Everyone, please keep an eye on each other and don't get separated. Woo. Just as Shirori finished her words, Toka closed her eyes, twitched her nose, and ran out cheering. Wow! It smells so good! Suka-chan! Shirori exclaimed and quickly followed after her, making Wu Yen bitterly smile. Everyone, follow me, don't get separated. Compared to that, you should be more worried about your wallet. Kotori glanced at Wu Yen after Shirori left and said without hesitation. With Toka's appetite, I'm worried you won't be able to wash the dishes. Wu Yan's bitter smile deepened when he heard this. Since Toka, Yoshino, and Kurumi were elves, Ratatosker's food expenses had always come from Ratatosker. However, because of Shirori, Ratatosker couldn't pay too much for the food expenses. After all, Shirori is responsible for all the expenses of Toka's family. Kurumi and the others also have to pay Shirori for their food expenses. In other words, Shirori is the living expenses sent by Toka and the others' families. Living expenses, even if it's a lot, how much can it be? It's already a miracle that it can fill Toka's stomach. That's why they can't spend too much money on the festival. However, looking at Toka's excited expression, she probably won't stop because of the financial deficit. If Wu Yen doesn't fork out the money, who else can help her? Toka is also Wu Yan's girlfriend. Unless Wu Yen doesn't let Toka enjoy herself to the fullest, he must pay for all of Toka's food expenses. Since Toka has already paid for all of Toka's food, can the other girls be left out? The answer is no. Thinking up to this point, Wu Yen couldn't help but touch his wallet. He's worried that he might not have enough money. In this world, Wu Yen isn't a teacher, he's a student. Where can he get so much cash? But, at this point, there's no point in dwelling on it. Wu Yen could only sigh and let out a long sigh to get rid of the depression in his heart. If I can't do it, I'll go sell a few more gold coins. Then you better think about how you're going to explain how you got the money from selling gold coins. Kotori gloated at Wu Yen. As long as I don't let her find out, it'll be fine. Who do you think gave me this? Wu Yen grumbled. He grabbed Yoshino's hand as if he's escaping from something. Whatever, Yoshino, is there anything you want to do? Yoshino panicked, her face turned red. After a while, she weakly pointed at a stall. Takoyaki. Do you want to eat takoyaki? Wu Yen glanced at the stall Yoshino pointed at and turned his attention to Kotori and Kurumi. What about you two? I'm a little hungry too. Kotori nodded. She looked at Toka, who was running around the stalls with food in her hands, and Shirori, who was following her around to prevent her from getting lost. She sighed. If we follow Toka, we won't be hungry. Wu Yen touched his pocket. Kurumi, who's been quietly standing behind Wu Yen, tugged at Wu Yan's clothes and pointed in a direction. How-sama, over there, what's wrong? Wu Yen, Kotori, and Yoshino looked in the direction Kurumi pointed. Their expressions changed. In front of Wu Yen, there's a girl who's wearing a white kimono with a purple belt around her waist. She has shoulder-length white hair and is looking at them. She's looking at Kotori. Toka Origami. Kotori's eyes narrowed as she met Toka Origami's gaze. She didn't back down. Kotori, who had retrieved the memories she lost when she turned into an elf 5 years ago, knew that she wasn't the one who killed Kunichi Origami's parents. Kotori doesn't need to show her weak side in front of Toka Origami. She won't explain herself either. Kotori only needs to have a clear conscience. It's Suka Kotori. Toka Origami said Kotori's name with clenched fists. It seems Toka Origami still doesn't believe Wu Yan's explanation. She's still hostile to Kotori. However, she didn't charge at them, which means she didn't deny Wu Yan's explanation. Maybe she just can't let it go. What's wrong? Toka Origami Carrier Chow. Kotori raised her chin expressionlessly. You want to kill me again? This time, I won't be merciful. That's exactly what I want. Toka Origami said coldly and glanced at Wu Yan. I want to say that, but I don't want to kill Shiori's sister before I find proof that you're the one who killed my parents. Kotori raised an eyebrow and sneered. You don't really think you can kill me, do you? Toka Origami's gaze turned cold, but her tone was calm. Maybe not before, but now, I don't think you have any fairy power. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere became tense. Chapter 1132. Kotori and Tabichi Origami stared at each other in the crowd. Their eyes flickered with a sharp glint, causing the atmosphere to become tense. Shoujo. Oni-san. Sensing the tense atmosphere, Yoshino shrunk back in fear and leaned on Wu Yan. Yoshino kept stroking her head to comfort her. If this had happened in the original work, the flustered Yoshino would have been able to reverse the flow of the sealed spiritual power and cause it to go berserk. As for Kwang-san, she had been standing to the side and watching all of this happen with a smile. She didn't intend to interfere or stop it. Only her wine-red eyes revealed an eager expression. It was as if she wanted to see the world in chaos, which made people not dare to compliment her. Kurumi looked at Wu Yan, who didn't say anything. She felt a bit surprised when she saw Wu Yan quietly watching the situation unfold. Hubby isn't going to stop them? Kwang-san licked her lips and smiled seductively. If this continues, they might end up fighting. Wu Yan looked at Kotori and then at Tabichi Origami. He sighed. I've sealed Kotori's spiritual power. Without my permission, she's just an ordinary person. Kunichi Origami doesn't have any display device on her. She's also an ordinary person. What's there to be afraid of when two ordinary girls fight? Kotori and Tabichi Origami's eyes twitched at the same time. I almost forgot. Kurumi seemed to be surprised as she covered her mouth. But soon, the corners of his mouth cracked into a rather bloody arc. If that's the case, there's no need to stop them, right? Why don't we just let them fight? Kotori and Tabichi Origami's mouths twitched as well. And no way. See, you said in a cowardly manner. Shiorine-san is here. If they fight, Shiorine-san will be angry. Kotori and Tabichi Origami couldn't stay calm anymore. Kotori waved her hand and pretended to be magnanimous. There are so many people here, it's not good to be seen or affected, let's just forget about it. No. Wu Yan complained. You're just worried about ruining your cute little sister's image. I should be the one saying that. Kotori Origami calmly shifted her gaze away from Kotori. You're different from the elves who brought disaster to this world. AST is protecting the world, we can't let innocent people get involved in the battle. Is it appropriate for you to say that? Wu Yan complained again. You're just worried about losing favorability with Shiori, right? Kotori and Tabichi Origami lowered their heads in silence. Then, they looked at Wu Yan in tacit agreement. Their eyes were so cold that they could freeze a person to death. Wu Yan laughed dryly in the midst of his ridicule. She awkwardly shifted her gaze away. I'll go find Shiori. Leaving these words behind, Ueni Origami walked away without looking back. Kotori flinched and got angry. Who would let a crazy woman like you bother my sister? After that, Kotori wanted to chase after him, but before she could take a few steps, her collar was grabbed by a hand and pulled back. What are you doing? Kotori got even angrier. Just as she was about to scold him, the laughter of the person who was grabbing her collar made her choke on the spot. Kotori-chan, don't tell me you want to leave just like that? Kurumi grabbed Kotori's collar with one hand and squinted her eyes. Don't forget our promise. Damn it! Kotori fiercely glared at Kurumi. She broke free from the hand that was grabbing her collar, walked to Yoshino, and held her hand. Yoshino, come with me to find my sister. Yana nodded obediently and allowed Kotori to take her away. The two of them ignored Wu Yan, and they disappeared in a puff of smoke under Wu Yan's astonished gaze. What the hell is going on? Wu Yan's mouth twitched when he realized what happened. He looked at Kurumi, who was smiling. They just left us like that? Well, it can't be helped, it can't be helped. Kurumi didn't feel a headache, her smile got brighter and brighter. It seems the Chishi festival is coming. I guess I'll have to accompany Aotsusama. I guess so. Wu Yan scratched his head and looked around at the crowd. He made sure Kotori and the others weren't around and bitterly smiled. Seriously, they just told us not to get separated, but they just left us like that. What kind of people are they? So. Kurumi hugged Wu Yan's arm with an intoxicating smile. Let's enjoy the ceremony. Well, I don't mind. Wu Yan looked at the crowd hesitantly. But we still have to pay for them. No need to worry. Kwang San's expression didn't change as she smiled. When Kotori left, she took out Susama's wallet with her. Huh? Wu Yan widened his eyes and he quickly checked his pockets. Of course, it's empty. That damned Kotori! Wu Yan yelled. How am I supposed to walk around the festival if she took my wallet with her? Walk and chat? I also have some cash on me. Kurumi blinked her wine-red eyes. There was a hint of mischievousness in them. It's not much, but it should be enough for 2 people. Sorry, Kurumi. Wu Yan shook his head, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Since it's the festival, we can't let the girls pay for it. Shiori isn't here anyway, let's go sell some gold coins. Kurumi's smile widened when she heard Wu Yan's words. She tightened her grip on Wu Yan's hand and pressed her soft bosom against his. Then I'll accept Aotsusama's kindness. Seeing the dazzling smile on Kurumi's beautiful face and feeling the softness of her hand, Wu Yan couldn't help but smile back. However, he's a bit confused about what to do. Kurumi didn't look any different from before. Wu Yan, who knows Kurumi very well, noticed something amiss with her expression and expression. He felt that the smile on Kurumi's face was forced. Only now did it seem to come from the bottom of her heart. But there was only one thing plus, she suddenly appeared in his room last night to seduce him, and that so-called promise she made with Kotori. Wu Yan's intuition told him that Kurumi was hiding something in her heart. Of course, considering Kurumi's personality, it's possible that she's just teasing him. But for some reason, Wu Yan felt like he had to pay attention to that smile on her face. His wine-red eyes met Kurumi's, exposed eyes of the same color. Wu Yan looked at Kurumi without saying a word. Kurumi smiled from start to finish. She didn't try to hide her smile as she looked into Wu Yan's eyes. For a moment, it was as if a high wall was built around the two of them. Inside the wall was their world. No one could disturb them. After a while, Wu Yan chuckled. All right, let's go for a stroll. Kurumi's eyes lit up. She hugged Wu Yan's hand tightly and leaned into Wu Yan's embrace. Yes. Among the crowd, a lot of guys looked at Kurumi with admiration and admiration. Wu Yan felt a bit awkward. Well, aren't we a bit too close? Ah, is that so? Kurumi grinned at Wu Yan, and she leaned closer to him. What's wrong with that? Aotsusama belongs to me now. It's not that I don't like it. Wu Yan scratched his face and compromised. Then let's do it. If we get any closer, we won't be able to walk. Then let's go. Kurumi nodded in satisfaction. She followed Wu Yan and they blended into the crowd. They crossed the street and the sea of people as they walked into the distance. Their shadows lengthened under the illumination of the surrounding lights and disappeared under the feet of the crowd. They merged with the shadows of everyone present and could no longer be distinguished from each other. Chapter 1133. Along with the shouts of the merchants in the stalls and the laughter of the people on the street, the clamor rose to the sky, reverberating in every corner of the commercial street. Although it was getting closer to midnight, the enthusiasm of the people present did not lessen. Instead, it seemed to be getting more and more intense. Walking with Kurumi in the crowd, Wu Yen couldn't help but laugh when he saw the adoring gazes of the men around him. Wu Yen didn't even think about it before he blurted it out. "Kurumi is really beautiful." The sudden praise seemed to startle Kurumi. When she noticed the gazes around her, Kurumi couldn't help but smile. "Hearing you say that, I'm really happy." She didn't forget to hug Wu Yan's hand harder and giggled. "If Lord Husband is jealous, then I will be even happier." Jealous? Wu Yan wanted to deny it out of reflex, but when he saw Kurumi's grinning face, he turned his head away and he mumbled to himself. "Yes, a little." Kurumi placed her finger on her lip. Her cute appearance made Wu Yan's heart skip a beat. Many of the boys around her forgot that they were still walking. They bumped into each other, causing some of them to fall on their faces. Kurumi turned a blind eye to everything around her. She tilted her head and pointed at Wu Yan's lips with her finger. "Don't worry, I only have feelings for hubby. From the beginning to the end." Wu Yan's footsteps paused. He turned around and looked into Kurumi's eyes. "Then, what about Shoujo, Mikoto, and Kotori?" Kurumi's eyes flickered. With an unfathomable smile on his face, he said this. "Hubby, do you want to hear a lie? Or do you want to hear the truth?" This question. Wu Yen shook his head with a smile. His eyes turned serious. "Of course, I want to hear what's in your heart." The smile on Kwang San's face didn't change, but the light in her eyes was a little strange. She looked straight ahead and was silent for a while before she spoke. "I'll say it again. From the beginning to the end, I only have feelings for hubby." Wu Yen lowered his head and remained silent. In fact, Wu Yen more or less guessed this situation. She's different from Toka and Yoshino, who are pure and kind elves, and Kotori, who is artificial. Before meeting Wu Yen, Kurumi's life could only be described as dark and gloomy. Wu Yen didn't know what kind of life Kurumi had from the first time she came to the realm to the time she met him. But one thing's for sure, that kind of life isn't worth remembering. She loved animals so much that she couldn't bear to see them being abused. She hated them so much that she could kill more than 10,000 humans without batting an eyelid. They were known as the evilest elves in the world, but in order to kill the first elves and erase the existence of elves in this world, they spent almost their entire lives on it. Even if they really did it, they could ignore the fact that their own existence would disappear from this world. What kind of life could make Kurong-san change like this and make such a sorrowful wish? Wu Yen doesn't understand, and he doesn't want to understand. Because the current Kwang-san had changed. Unfortunately, this change is only directed at him. There's nothing he can do about it. If Kurumi was so easily touched, she wouldn't have let her past self die in the hands of Shina's. She wouldn't be alone. She's been walking this path for so long. If he hadn't been lucky enough to touch the deepest part of Kurumi's heart during the short period of time when her heart was at its weakest when he defeated her, then he would have died right now. Kurumi is probably still wandering in the life of killing and being killed for her own wish. She's sinking deeper and deeper. Under such circumstances, it's not easy for Kurumi to accept the other girls. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's impossible. But even so, I hope you can get along well with them. Wu Yen lifted his chin and he looked forward with Kurumi. The words that came out of his heart echoed in Kurumi's ears along with his uncontrollable emotions. "After all, you are the most important people in my life." Kurumi's smile froze and then gradually disappeared. She didn't say anything. Kurumi knows that Wu Yen knows her well. If it was Wu Yen, he would be able to guess her true meaning from her words. But he still said something like, "I hope you can get along well with them." Well, that's it. He didn't want me to open my heart to the girls around me, nor did he want me to have feelings for them. He just wanted me to live a good life with them. The man I love only wants me to live a good life. That's the true meaning of his words. Although he looked unreliable on the surface and was usually frivolous, this man was using the gentleness hidden in the depths of his heart to care for her, but he didn't force himself on her. Hope? Kwang San repeatedly pondered over this sentence in her heart and then smiled. Be a little more positive. Hearing that, Wu Yen smiled too. That's enough. They smiled at each other and didn't say anything. They stayed close to each other, mingling in the crowd and strolling around the Chishi festival. From time to time, they could see Kurumi's innocent and romantic expression and licking her lips while looking at the snack. Wherever she went, people would turn to look at her. Standing in a remote open space, Wu Yen and Kurumi raised their heads, looking at the colorful fireworks in the sky. The corners of their mouths were raised. Especially Kwang San. She seemed to be in a good mood. Her eyes were filled with satisfaction, but there was also a trace of regret in them. It could be seen that Kwang San was very satisfied with this trip to the festival, but because she was so satisfied she had some regret. The fireworks started to bloom in the sky. It was getting closer to dawn. The lively festival was about to end. The brightly colored fireworks blossomed amidst the explosions. The colors of the night sky were reflected on Kwang San's beautiful face. At this moment, she looked exceptionally bright and moving. There was a kind of silent beauty to her. When the fireworks were about to end, Kurumi spoke like she was sleep-talking. To be honest, I'm a little confused right now. Wu Yen looked at Kurumi and didn't say anything. He quietly waited for her to continue. I got a piece of information recently. Kurumi didn't seem to notice Wu Yan's gaze as she continued talking to herself. Since the first elf appeared 30 years ago, the second elf who appeared seemed to know the identity and whereabouts of the first elf. If it was someone else who knew Kwang San, they would have been scared after hearing Kwang San's words. No matter how one listened to it, it sounded like Kurumi didn't give up on pursuing her sad wish. Wu Yen didn't react at all. Even Kurumi was surprised by his reaction. He slowly nodded and he spoke in a warm voice. Do you want to search? Kurumi lowered her head. Her eyes were a little dim. I don't know. That's why I'm confused. I see. Wu Yen pondered for a moment. Then, he said something shocking. If that's the case, then let's search. Kurumi raised her head and looked at Wu Yen in shock. Only Wu Yan's gentle voice could be heard. If you're feeling lost, it means you haven't let it go yet. If that's the case, why don't you try taking action? Maybe you'll get an answer in the process. Wu Yen held Kurumi's hand and he looked into her beautiful eyes. You only need to know that I hope you can always stay by my side. Don't disappear. Looking at Wu Yan's gentle smile and gentle eyes, Kurumi couldn't help but feel a little absent-minded. Then, she laughed. Aren't you afraid that I'll cause trouble again? Don't go too far. The rest is none of my business. Wu Yen said in a capricious tone. He touched the sealing bracelet on Kurumi's wrist. If you really go too far, then I'll stop you. After all, once the sealing bracelet is put on, it can't be removed. Don't even think about escaping in your lifetime. How domineering! Kurumi's eyes flashed with strong ripples. She closed her eyes with a smile. But I like it very much. Chapter 1134. Early morning, lying on the bed, Meijio looked out the window at the sky that was gradually brightening. It was a refreshing morning, and the birds were dancing in the air. This scene was filled with vitality, but it didn't bring Meijio any good mood. It even made her feel a little irritated. In the past, Meijio hated mornings, because she had to go to school when morning came. However, Meijio's grades weren't very good. It didn't matter if her grades were terrible. Other than her voice, Meijio didn't have any outstanding talents. Including her studies, how could Meijio like the school? Of course, with Meijio's current strength, it was easy for her to change her grades. Moreover, she could enjoy the feeling of being the center of attention in school. As an idol, she liked this feeling. Therefore, although she didn't like school, Meijio didn't hate it. However, recently, let alone school, she didn't even want to stay in her favorite stage and home. It wasn't that Meijio hated the stage and her home. Recently, her heart was in a mess and she couldn't calm down. It made her feel like she had lost interest in everything. She didn't even have much of an appetite for food. She was depressed all day long. This phenomenon started a few days ago and had been going on until now. To be more precise, it started when she parted with that man at the entrance of Dragon Gall Temple Women's Academy at dusk. It had been like this ever since. Meijio didn't know the exact reason. She only knew that her heart couldn't calm down. It had been completely stirred up into a muddy pool of water. It was so complicated that she couldn't understand it. It made her very frustrated. Meijio pulled up the blanket and covered her head tightly. She screamed in frustration. It's all that despicable man's fault. As expected, men are all dirty things. Whenever I meet that kind of creature, I can't breathe. That's why I'm so frustrated. Despicable, despicable, despicable. As though venting, Meijio's sweet and intoxicating voice reverberated in the blanket. It reached Meijio's ears. It made her even more frustrated. Sigh. I might as well not go to school. The moment she said that, Meijio flung the blanket away and crawled out of it. No, staying at home will only make me more frustrated. I might as well go to school and let those cute toys play with me. After saying that, Meijio jumped off the bed and started to change her clothes. Heavenly Palace City, Longdan Temple Women's College, Big Sister. Big Sister. Yes, Big Sister. Wow. Elder Sister. Meijio was wearing the student uniform of the Dragon Gall Temple Women's College, which was a sailor suit. She walked along the corridor leading to the classroom and listened to the voices of support coming from all directions. Unknowingly, the corners of her lips curled up, and her irritable mood was alleviated by a lot. Sure enough, coming to school was the right choice. Meijio's heart was filled with joy as she thought of this. Although her mood wasn't that good, it was much better than before. Hence, she waved at the students around her, causing them to scream in unison. It didn't take long for Meijio to arrive at her classroom and sit down. Next to her, a few girls who looked like followers lined up behind her. If this was any other school, Meijio would most likely be treated as a snob and would be subjected to public opinion. However, this was a very common scene in the Dragon Gall Temple Women's College. The students behind Meijio were all her supporters. They even knew Meijio's true identity. It was unknown whether they were manipulated by Meijio or if they were her true supporters. Big Sister. At this time, a female student behind Meijio stood up and said respectfully to Meijio, "Can I have a little of Big Sister's time?" "It doesn't matter." Meijio rested her chin on her hand and looked out the window. She said casually, "What is it?" "Today is the day that Big Sister ordered us to check the fans' letters." The female student seemed to have noticed Meijio's absent-mindedness, so she didn't waste any time and directly carried out a rather large box. "Big Sister, do you want me to read it or do you want to read it yourself?" "No need." Meijio waved her hand, her gaze still fixed outside the window. "I'm not in the mood to read the letters today, I'll leave them to you." The female student looked at Meijio in surprise. She didn't expect such an answer. Night Tempter Meijio was a singer who had debuted for half a year. Although it had only been half a year, in this half a year, Meijio had become a real popular idol. Even compared to those veteran idols, she was still better. Although her fans were only female, there were still a lot of them. Naturally, these fans would want to send letters to Meijio. It's understandable, Meiju didn't want to be bothered by fan mail every day, so she left all these fan mail to her subordinates. Then, she would take one day out every week to read these fan mail. She didn't stop once. This was the first time she said she wasn't in the mood to read the letters. How could people not be surprised? Elder sister. At that moment, not knowing what Meiju was going to say, the female student was in a bit of a dilemma. You really don't want to read it? I said I don't want to read it. If it was in the past, Meiju's tone would be natural and unhurried, and she would more or less be polite. However, under the influence of her irritation, the words that came out of Meiju's mouth weren't very polite, and it scared the female student. Seeing this, Meiju sighed and turned her head away in boredom. Anyway, you can deal with the letters yourselves, yes. The female student could only agree. She took the box full of letters and left. Almost at the same time, another female student walked up to Meiju. Big sister, there are some fans who hope that Big sister can hold a concert. Do you mean? Meiju finally turned her head. The word concert caught her interest. Many people want to hold a concert? Yes, big sister. Seeing Meiju looking at her, the female student seemed to be very excited. Even her spirit was lifted. Big sister, didn't you cancel the concert a few days ago? That's why the fans want Big sister to hold another concert. A concert a few days ago? Cancelled? Meiju was stunned. A concert a few days ago? Was it the concert held when she met that man? Why would it be cancelled because of something? The first half of the concert went smoothly. Later on, because of a fight with that man, the concert was ruined and she was taken away by him. Oh right, that man seemed to have asked someone to erase the fans' memories. Could it be because of this that the concert ended up being cancelled because of something? Meiju thought of that man's smiling face when she parted with him. She finally calmed down a little, but she became restless again. Forget it. Since that's the case, I'll hold another concert to change my mood. Let's do it. Meiju raised her head. Her bright silver eyes glanced at the female student. The concert will be held 3 days from now. You can go to the fan page and announce it. I'll take care of the rest. Got it, big sister. Meiju nodded and stood up. She wanted to make arrangements for the concert. Just as she stood up, a piece of paper fell from her arms and onto the floor. Meiju frowned and bent down to pick up the paper on the ground. But when she saw the contents of the paper, her beautiful face froze. That was because there was a phone number written on the paper. If you need someone to support you, if you need someone to believe in you, if you lose your spiritual power again, if you want to sing again, call this number. In her mind, this sentence involuntarily rose, causing Meiju's hand that was holding the paper to tighten slightly. Her heart also began to beat faster. Meiju took out her phone from her pocket.